Yeah, but I didn't put it in anyway. It's ridiculous. Praying tonight. I think it's Randy. It is Randy.
All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the meeting of the Livingston Parish Council. It's July 14th, it's 6:05. Ms. Sandy, call roll, please.
Mr. Gillette?
Here.
Mr. McMorris?
Here.
Mr. Earlinghouse?
Here.
Mr. Ard?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Here.
Mr. Watkins?
Here.
Mr. Mack?
Here.
Mr. King?
Here.
Mr. Talbert?
Here.
All present.
Quit working.
All right. Cell phones. Remind everyone, if you have a cell phone, please mute it, turn it off. Public input. This will be our first kind of trial run on our cards to sign up. So it's not exactly law yet. This is just kind of a trial run. We're going to start working into these cards. And we have some items where there's a lot of people that signed up, and I know there's been some requests about allowing other people to speak. So if y'all want to have a spokesman and we just give them the time to speak, I'm okay with that. That way we don't have to have 20 different people coming up here. So y'all can make a decision. If y'all want 3 people to be the spokesman, we'll let them come up here. We'll give them plenty of time to say what they have to say, and we won't have to go back and forth so much. All right. So first thing we need to do is get through some public hearings. Oh, yes, let's do it. Who's got the invocation?
I do, Jeff.
All right, Mr. Light.
Let us pray. Glorious God, you promised to open doors of blessings and abundance for your people. We, the council, ask that you would work in us today. Come upon us and cause us to have a productive meeting. Lead each one of us so that we can make faithful, fruitful contributions tonight and bring relief to all residents of Livingston Parish who count on this council for assistance. Enable us to think and strategize in ways that will achieve great results. Purify our thoughts and motives so that each one of us will enter this meeting desiring to help our people in need. We pray in your name, Lord Jesus, that the outcome of this meeting is desirable to achieve our heavenly kingdom goals. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Mack, lead us in the pledge.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, now, we're going to go ahead and get our public hearings over with. This will be all of our ordinances that we're introducing. So the way we're going to do it, we're going to open the public hearing. We'll go through each one of them. If somebody has something they need to add on one of them, you raise your hand. I mean, I can't imagine too much conversation being on this one, but. All right, so we are now entering a public hearing. All right. First one is Ordinance 22-09. Sandy, do you need to read these? All right.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 125 subdivision regulations, Section 125-9 submittals, specifically related to the final plat and subdivisions without improvements of the code of ordinances.
All right. Any comments on that?
Which subdivision is this?
This is Chapter 125 subdivision regulations.
Just a regulation?
Yes, just regulations. All right. All right. Next ordinance, Ms. Sandy.
This is road ordinance as adjusted for the tax year 2022.
Any comments on that? All right, Ms. Sandy, next one.
This is proposed ordinance 22-30. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 2 Administration, Section 2-6, finding ordinances as follows.
All right, comments?
This is an ordinance 22 dash. This is 2231, ordinance to amend Chapter 117 zoning, Article 4 zoning districts, Division 3, R-1 residential, rural, single family.
All right, any comments? All right,
This is ordinance 22-32, an ordinance to amend Chapter 117 zoning, Article 4 zoning districts by creating Division 3-1, R-1.5 residential, rural, single family.
comment?
No, Sandy, your mic's cutting out or not working, I think.
The battery, I don't know.
Why don't you read that one again, Sandy, just to make sure everybody heard it? 22-32.
This is an ordinance to amend Chapter 117 zoning, Article 4 zoning districts by creating Division 3.1, R-1.5 residential, rural, single family.
All right, any comments on that? Yes, ma'am.
Sarah Ferris, 19241 Plantation Trace Drive. I just wanted to ask where we landed on this one. I think this is the one that Mr. Mack had brought up. What was the resolution on that of what we're actually introducing here? I just wanted to ask that. I can sit down.
We're going to, go ahead, Tracy. I mean, we're going to introduce it tonight.
Yeah.
There was an additional classification added, and that was R1.5, and it's basically density 2.5 lots per acre, but there's a minimum lot width defined in there such that if this area was zoned R1.5, then, you'd have to have, a minimum width lot of 70 feet, or you wouldn't be able to subdivide the property. And then there's also, in addition to that, we added R1, which is the minimum lot size 1 acre. We added 80-foot width requirement, to where if a parcel of property was zoned R1 in Livingston Parish, then, it would have to be subdivided such that it was minimum lot size 1 acre and minimum width of the lot would need to be 80 feet.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify. I remember there was some debate about where 1.5 ended up, so that's all.
Yep, it's being introduced tonight, and if it gets adopted in a couple of weeks, it'll be law. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for letting me explain that.
All right. All right, Ms. Sandy, next one.
22-33, an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances in and for the Parish of Livingston by creating and enacting Chapter 126 commercial development.
Commercial developments, anybody? All right, Ms. Sandy.
This is 22-34, an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances in and for the Parish of Livingston by creating and enacting Chapter 127 multifamily development.
Comments on that? All right, next one.
This is 22-35, an ordinance to amend Section 125-34 wetland regulations, prohibited and permitted uses as follows. Do you have?
Comments on wetlands? All right.
This is proposed ordinance 22-36, an ordinance to rescind and reenact 25 subdivision regulations of the Code of Ordinances in for the Parish of Livingston to amend the chapter in its entirety.
That's good to know. All right, we are now closing the public hearing on the ordinances. All right, 7 is presentations. We do not have any presentations tonight. 8 is councilman comments. So if there's any comments anybody would like to make before we, Randy?
I have a first cousin that worked here underneath President Ricks and President Grimmer, who had a massive widowmaker heart attack last night, and she's on breathing machines and stuff, and hopefully she can pull out of it, but there's not much hope, so keep her in her prayers.
Anybody else with comments?
Yeah, Mr. Hart, if you would, I'd like to ask everyone to keep the family of Scott Fesky. He passed away from Denham Springs. Scott and I went to school together. He was a great guy, great singer, and he was known all over from Livingston Parish and other places around the country. So keep his family in prayers.
Right, let's move on to 9. 9 is adopting of the minutes. So we got June 9th, 2022, regular meeting of Livingston Parish Council, and June 23rd, 2022, regular meeting of Livingston Parish Council.
Second.
The motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Garlinghouse. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, 10, Parish President's Report. All right, I got this one. Okay, I got this. This is to authorize the transfer of property from the Parish of Livingston to the Livingston Parish Assessment District and authorizing signing of the agreement. This is basically to give the assessor building to the tax assessor, and he will assume all responsibilities, maintenance, everything on the building from here on out, so we will no longer have any.
I'll make that motion.
And wait, and we're gonna need, as part of that motion, to give the parish president authority to sign a cooperative agreement to pass it over.
I'll make the
So
motion.
motion by Mr. Garlinghouse, second by Mr. King. Is there any comments from anyone on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? All right. All right, Livingston Parish Sewer District, acquisition from Weyerhaeuser for sewer infrastructure. Mr. Eddie Idell.
How you guys doing? What we're here to ask you guys tonight is to allow us to re-subdivide this tract of Weyerhaeuser property, which is located north of the city of Walker, for the construction of a regional wastewater treatment plant.
Well, we really need infrastructure, and that is a good reason to do this. So I'd like to make a motion that we authorize them to re-subdivide that property.
Re-subdivide the property.
And construct a wastewater treatment facility for the benefit of expanding sewer system and getting sewer out of the
Wait,
ditch.
hold on. So basically, you're offering a waiver to allow them to subdivide the land.
That is correct.
Okay.
Have we determined if they actually need a waiver? I mean, Chris, the moratorium was for business and whatever. This is a governmental body. Does a governmental body need a waiver to subdivide property?
Well, it wasn't totally clear, so I guess it just doesn't hurt.
So
No, that's fine. I just wanted to know if a governmental body needed a waiver. That's
this
all.
is
That's fine.
important
We're gonna
and it
make
needs
it
to be
clear.
done, so.
Yeah, so we got a motion by Mr. Wascom, and actually Mr. Mack beat you, Mr. Garlinghouse, so he got the second. So is there any comments on this from anybody? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? There
Thank
go.
you, guys.
Thank you.
A little bit closer so I can push everything.
All right, Livingston Parish Grants Department.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Councilman. Tonight, I'm coming requesting a resolution authorizing the parish president to sign a contract with Fort Tablata for the West Coyell Creek project in Walker. As you all hopefully can remember, we have one that's close to Walker. However, it was going to adversely affect a few people downstream. So we've talked FEMA into putting the first project on hold for the time and allowing us to do the engineering for the lower end to offset the adverse effects. And so I'm just asking for authorization for Mr. Ricks to sign a contract.
Make that motion. And as you know, since we've been trying to get that section of the creek through the city limits widened and
or I guess I don't want to use the term widen, but essentially that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's been, I think it's a Gustav level, I think initially, wasn't it, Mark? It was and we kind of kept it resurrected in the hopes of getting it done. We feel like we're right at the cusp. The last time they just said, well, you don't want to adversely affect downstream. So this is what we're just trying to get downstream so we can move forward on that part of the project too. So I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Girlinghouse.
And I will second. I don't got a question for Mark, though. How far downstream are we going south?
This project starts at Buddy Ellis and goes down towards the bay. We don't know how far yet until the engineering is done.
Yes, sir.
But, and just so you know, this was not going to affect any homes. It was going to increase water level on a few properties by 1 inch. And so FEMA said that they would allow us to do this phase so we wouldn't have that adverse effect. So I think it's awesome.
Thank you, Mark. I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. McMorris. Is there any comments from the public on this? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you all.
All right, I'm going to move one item up, which is 26, while we got people in here that might need to hear some of this. So this is the discussed proposal for flood protection and the protection of residents of Livingston Parish. I think Mr. Delat, you put this on here?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Does everybody have a cup?
I got one.
Which one is?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Can I proceed, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
This agenda item, y'all, I'm asking for a resolution on behalf of the citizens of Livingston Parish to request that the parish administration begin work on a comprehensive master flood plan. This would be accomplished using available data from the parish departments, governmental agencies, and parish contractors. This master flood plan will ultimately become a resource to document known flooding problems. This will provide a database of flooding and drainage issues that can be used to address flood issues before, during, and after flood events. It would also help to identify bottlenecking that is causing flooding and providing a proactive plan to improve the issues. We will welcome any and all advice, suggestions, and or input from the parish president's office also in this plan. On the agenda, that's the resolution I want to adopt. On the agenda, I've got 3 items there that should have been probably typed into the resolution. And the people that I represent have identified some critical paths, and that they feel has caused a lot of flooding in Livingston Parish. And it's the same ones that we keep talking about year and year after year. We don't have the personnel, the equipment, or even the money to do those projects that I have listed. But to get those things done, you have to have a plan to, by understanding, the Watershed Initiative requires you to have a master plan before you can apply for that money. Well, if we don't have the master plan, we can't apply for the $1.2 billion that's supposed to be out there. Doesn't mean that we do get a master plan and we do get the money. It's going to go on the best applications. And the 3 parts on that agenda, and if Mr. Chairman allows me to do all 3 of them, I'll have on that the 3rd one to sign an intergovernment agreement with East Baton Rouge Parish and Ascension Parish. Those 2 parishes drain most of their water through Livingston Parish. And with the Watershed Initiative Agreement, it was stated in prior meetings that when you look regional, you got a better chance to getting that money. And I can't see a better way than to dredge the Amite River from Port Vincent all the way to the mouth of the lake. And another item that I would love to see us do is dredge a channel from Blind River all the way to North Pass. There's a lot of places in the lake, we keep saying 3 to 4, 5 feet deep, where the North Pass is 22 feet deep. The actual height of the lake elevation now is just as high as the rivers. So even if we was to just to clean the rivers, it's gonna hit the lake and bounce back and flow back. So we do need to have a channel. These is all things that it's gonna take time, but we have to start somewhere, and I feel like if we just start with this resolution, which is non-binding, get some input from the parish president's office, see which direction they want to go in, and a lot of other parishes has hired contractors or different agencies to help them draw these up, and they know where to go get that money, so it wouldn't be no money from us if you hired an agency like that. So basically, my discussion is that I would like to get some input on what people considered is, since 2016, we know that the interstate was a problem for us, we know all the rain was a problem for us, and we know all the trees and the debris was a problem for us. So all those things affect different parts of the parishes, not the same way. Something in one area of the parish may affect a different part of the parish another way. But if you have that database and you have that living history or document that you can update, before and after and during those storms, we can be better prepared. But it also gives us that living document to use to say, well, this is our goals and we want to apply for this money. And I'm throwing it out there because I feel like every parish needs to have some sort of flood plan protection. Every parish has to. So if I can get a second for the motion and send some and it does pass, and if the chairman allows me to, I would even discuss this with the parish president to see what he's willing to do and not willing to do, and we'll go from there. That's basically what I'm asking. Discussion on that.
Discussion on this?
Yes.
Mr. McMorris?
So I guess, Mark, could you come back up, please?
Sir.
So I hear Randy what he's saying here, but what do we have in place now, Mark? Could you give us a little explanation where we at now? Because I know the relationship you have with FEMA and everybody else.
We do, and I'm just going to compliment him. That is a very good idea. And thank goodness we don't have to spend money on it. The Watershed Initiative is already contracted with a company called Dewberry, and they're modeling the waterways throughout the state. And I was blessed to sit in about 3 weeks ago with what they've already prepared in Livingston. And it is amazing what they have done. So the state has already spent millions to do our work for us, thank goodness. There's a few things I got excited about. They can actually show the water coming down during the flood, show you the force of it, everything. So I challenged them. I said, okay, tell me if 3 inches of rain falls in this one point in 24 hours or 2 hours, what is it going to do? And they did a little calculation and they started showing it. The problem with it is it's all going to be housed at LSU, so engineers and everybody can actually pull it up and look at it. But for dummies like me, I can't access that type work. So we talked about it, and they said for about $250,000, they could do a little bit more work and convert it into the GIS, where we could actually work in the EOC and have GIS sit right there. So I'm going to the governor to try to get the governor authorized Watershed to give Dewberry a couple $100 more thousand and finish it up where we can use it in the GIS program. So they have done amazing things, and luckily we're one of the first ones that they're finishing up. They're going to start Tangy next, so we're going to have it in place pretty soon, we hope. Now, as far as the dredging, I asked that question 2 years ago, and they incorporated the dredging from the lake to Port Vincent. And I argued with them, and they swear it's not going to do a bit of good for Livingston Parish because the lake is so shallow. Now, they haven't moved forward from the mouth over to 55 yet, but I understand that is in the works for that same company to look at. I don't know if a channel would work or what, but they're going to do the research for us. So that's already in place, so we're blessed.
That's great news, and I'm proud to hear that because I thought we was worse off than what we really are, I guess. I thought we was way behind the ball, but you seem to be on top of it. What can help us also is updates, quarterly updates, you know, so we can tell the people where we at on it, you know, because we hear about it tonight, and then it might be next year before we have another flood, and then somebody's gonna say, well, what about that, what Mark was talking about in the meeting, you know?
I just saw it 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
For the first time.
Yeah.
They're just now finishing with Livingston.
So maybe a quarterly update with the council wouldn't be a bad thing to do, you know, might be no change from the last update, or it might be something, application got deemed inappropriate or got turned down or whatever. But I like that part of it. Gerald, you had some other stuff?
And if y'all would all like to have Dewberry come in one of our meetings and give us a
Absolutely.
10-minute little deal, I can ask them to do that.
And that's going to give us a plan, and we got to know where to attack it at. Where do we get the money from?
To attack it if they show the problem?
If they show us the problems, and whether it's administration or council or people in a public hearing, if somebody convinces somebody and say, well, this is the part that's got to be done, where would that money come from?
We're going to have to go to the state to get it.
You have to go to state.
Or the
Would
feds.
that come
Or the
out?
feds.
Would it come out of the watershed initiative money?
It could come out of hazard mitigation, it could come out of CDBG, OCD, whatever, but mitigation is typically the best way to go with it.
Someone told me, a state legislator, and last time I called one of those names, they didn't like it, so I'm just saying, a state legislator said that if we don't have this plan, it's almost next to impossible for us to get any money from the watershed initiative.
Well, I'm going to disagree with that, Mr.
Okay.
DeLatte, and let me tell you why. Before the governor ever announced round one of the watershed funding, go back and think. We picked up the money to do the 22 cuts and 15 million to do watershed work here, before round one was ever announced.
So
and the way we did that, and you know, you had a good idea here to work with other parishes. Do you know how we got that accomplished? I personally went to St. Helena, East Feliciana, EBR, and Livingston, of course, and Ascension, and got letters of support for these projects from all the parishes. One other thing I'm proud to say tonight, we have a meeting next Tuesday, and hopefully we're going to get funding to clean storm-related debris out of the Amet River, Petty Amet, all the construction debris down on Blind River, I think it's Alligator, and Old River. I think we're talking from Chicopee and around where it's real bad. But with that being said, I worked with EBR, and EBR said they would cover 50% of our cost share for the Amet River.
That's awesome.
So we do work with other parishes, and they've been good to work with.
Wouldn't, just a question, if we get this far back, if we get a plan or we're signing a government agreement, that is done through the administrative part of the government, through y'all, right? Not through this council, is that?
Right.
Okay. So when those things happen, the progress, it never happens as fast as we want it to happen. But when we get started on that and we see there may be some seminars or some public hearings or maybe some opportunity to grab some money from here or there, can those be shared with the council when those things happen? In other words, we don't feel like putting it up on the agenda and asking for it. You may not have no new information to give me, may be wasted. But if you feel like every quarterly you can report on this, or every month, or every way that you feel like that that you may have some success, it would be greatly appreciated by me and probably most of the councilmen if we would had that information, so when our constituents call, we could better forward that information to them.
I can give an update on what we've done up to that date and what we're planning, and do that every quarter if they'd like.
That would be fantastic, with me speaking. So.
I got a question whenever y'all get.
Go ahead, Mr. Mack.
Whenever it's my turn. Really appreciate all the hard work y'all been doing with that watershed initiative, Mr. Mark, and being able to implement all these drainage improvement projects. I don't know where we'd be if it wasn't for all these drainage improvement projects, especially that debris cleanup that's going on today. Just a couple questions though. This channel that they looking at, maybe doing a study and trying to identify if it's actually a benefit, going from Blind River down to North Pass. Is it possible also to get them to look at maybe tying that a channel coming out of Tickfall into that channel, so that, you know, that Tickfall watershed? I mean, just look at it, you know, and talk about it.
Yes,
I think that might be a good thing.
Dewberry's looking at different things,
Yeah.
and that's going to be included in ours and in Tangie's together, combined.
Yeah.
So we're asking them to look at some of that, but they've already studied a little of it, not much, and said they're not seeing a big benefit because from the interstate going south, there's just not a big opening.
Yeah. And the only other question I had was, I know Dewberry's looking at, they got that model. It's really well designed, you know, to be able to determine the effects on certain volumes of rainfall and all this good stuff. But they've got that for the Amite watershed, right? Which, you know, we got most of our people living over there on the west side of Livingston Parish. But what are they still talking about doing that for the Tickfall and the Tallbenny watersheds also, and other watersheds, so that we can have models? I know we got to start somewhere and complete something somewhere.
The other day when I looked at it, they started showing me from Amite River, went over to the Coyelles, Hornsby was in it, Little Tallbenny, but we're so far advanced on what they've done in Livingston, we have to complete what they're doing in Tangie and tie it all together. But they've done a lot. I've been hearing some negative stuff about it, and that day I got more excited than I've gotten in a long time. Matter of fact, when I left there, I called Leighton and said, look, they can do this, and if we can get the governor to give us another couple hundred, 300,000, we can get this done so we could actually use it during a disaster in the EOC. We have to dumb it down a little bit. So, and I will say that some of our local engineering firms have some GIS folks, and some of them have already volunteered to send them during a disaster to sit in the EOC and help us work some of this stuff. So I got excited about that.
Want to possibly change your resolution to ask for a quarterly update on flood mitigation?
The resolution, I want to make sure that we establish the master plan. I told the legislator that I would do that, a master flood plan. Is that something that your office does, Mark? Is that another? Let me pass that on to you.
I can say that we could work on a flood master plan, but I don't see us asking for funding or using funding at this time. Let's let Dewberry finish what they've got and see how far we can get there, and then incorporate their studies into what we need.
And how long you think that'd be, Miss Mark?
Don't make me lie to you.
They won't do that this year, though, right?
No, sir. Oh, no, sir.
Okay.
Do you want to?
I'm still in favor of passing a resolution that read out, start the master plan. If it gets done, it gets done. If it don't, it don't, you know.
I second it. We're going to move on.
I was going to say
I'll
that
second
I've been
it.
wanting a master gravity drainage plan in Livingston Parish since 2017, so I think I should have the right to second that.
Sir? Mr. Harrell, would it be counterproductive to do so in any way?
Well, as long as you don't say when you have to start, when you have to finish it, because I want to collect all the data we can get first.
Right.
That's not, that's not waste taxpayers'
Look, that's a
money.
decision by the administration. We're asking the
Yeah.
administration to review it. We're asking them to do something that's not within our purview. I mean, so we're just gonna ask them, and if they do what they want to with our resolution.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, Mr. Talbert, I was just,
I understand, I just.
all right, okay.
All right, so you got a motion and a second.
We got a motion, got a second from Mr. Talbot? You got that? All right, is there any comments from the public on this? Yes, sir.
Scott Lobel, 18052 Louisiana Highway 444. So my understanding of the watershed initiative of the $1.2 billion is that, that's set up for South Louisiana, so there's going to be lots of parishes that are trying to access that money. So if a master plan is what's needed to get an application process going, that would be a needed thing and a great thing, so we can hurry up and enter the arms race so we can try to get our fair share of that money. And the other thing, there were some good projects on here, and I would like the parish to consider looking at including in that, in chasing that money, looking at doing a better control structure at the weir at the Amen River and Diversion Canal, because the way that it is now, obviously it's a rock thing.
What happens on that one, Scott, is that it's in the parish of Ascension.
Could we seek a cooperative endeavor or something with them to do that, or that be tied to the relief bridges that they're doing in
They actually want to do that. It's in their top 3 priority list.
Okay.
And I'm not in a hurry, because with the weir being tore down, the water gets out of there quicker. It's killing the Amet River, but it keeps people from flooding that would normally be flooding right now because there's no dredging and no way to get it out. You would think that things would have to be done in sequence. You think you would start from the bottom, work your way up, and do those things first. And that way, when you fix something, you don't make an adverse impact on somebody else. And as an old retired strawberry farmer, I know digging them with a shovel and waterfalls, you start from the bottom, work your way up. And that's everything in water.
I think also too, if we would dredge the southern portion of the river and that control structure's in place, and there could be engineering studies that would show how to operate that thing, and at times, maybe you adjust the flow that goes down, that way we can maintain the channel
That's
in
correct.
Amen River.
And the 2 rivers that would cut out the flooding would bring them back. There's no more Petty Amet River, and there's no more Old River. Not even a slough you can call Old River. If those 2 rivers was there, that's even more water that would be taken off the people instead of backing up. And it's easy to water back up all the way to Port Vincent, past that now, just on a 4-way train. So, but anyway.
All right.
Thank you.
Sir.
I wanted to come up here and talk, but Mr. DeLatt mentioned something that I didn't know. David Watts, 22983 Highway 42. Randy, you said that the weir is in Ascension Parish?
Yes, sir.
How far is our property? How far is the parish line over?
On the edge of it.
It's close. It's on the edge.
It's on the edge.
It's close.
How much water do they pump over on us through New River Canal down Petty Amet? When they open that pumping station up wide open, what's Ascension dumping on us? What can it move? New Orleans can tell you what they can move. What's Ascension can move?
They got that, but I can tell you what you can do. You can ride down Highway 22 and see the white caps in it.
I know. I just want to know a number. New Orleans can tell you when they fire up 17th Street Canal. So they can tell you how much they can move in a minute.
Supposedly they can't do anything until they get the okay from the Corps. They can only pump at certain times, but I don't think that's true.
Here's my deal, and y'all know how I feel about the Diversion Canal. I made my 2 weeks ago. I made my Diversion Canal killed Amet River. Diversion Canal caused Amet River to fill up. There's no point in dredging Amet River if we ain't gonna come up with a plan to send more water down Amet River to keep it open. It's just gonna fill back up. So you're gonna spend 100 million, 200 million? How much we're gonna throw at it? It's easy to spend taxpayers' money, real easy. But if we're gonna dig it, what's gonna help maintain it? Are we gonna send more water down to keep it open? Because it's full now. I mean, I made this comment to my family the other day. When you used to eat at Val's Marina, or you go eat it anywhere, Amet River catfish was #1. If you seen Amet River catfish on the menu, man, you fixing to eat some prime meat, and you don't see that no more. They can't catch them down there. Ain't no water down there no more. So Ascension Parish controls the weir. That's ridiculous.
We went to a
Ridiculous.
meeting, they showed it to us.
Yep.
We ought to get us a bunch of sheet pile and drive it down the side of it on our side and say, we'll cut y'all off.
They would actually like that because they don't want that water coming on them. They want to levee up and pump. So when
Absolutely.
So when that water comes through Walker, Spring, and Port Vincent, and it's outside the banks, it gets on them, and they got to keep building their levees higher and higher and higher, and add more pumps. When more and more water's coming, they build their levees higher and higher and higher, and add more pumps.
I'm not even from Killian. Y'all know where I live at. I live middle part of the parish, right in the center of the parish, Centerville. And Denham Springs water comes to y'all, to Killian. Albany's water comes to Killian. Ascension Parish pumps water on Killian. When is Ascension Parish pumping water on this? It needs to stop. The weir needs to come up, quit sending water down a diversion canal, and limit the water and send some water down Ament River to help flush it out. We're gonna dig and then we're gonna dig a canal from the mouth of Blind River to North Pass. Why don't we dig at the South Pass? That's the deeper pass. It can handle more volume of water. I'm just an old redneck. I don't know. I mean, I'm not an engineer, but South Pass got some deep holes in it. I mean, I'm just looking at the common sense thing that if you look on the satellite view of the weir, it's underwater. The rocks don't even control, it ain't even a flood structure no more. It's frustrating that I hear Ascension Parish controls the weir.
Yes.
Mind-boggling. Thank y'all.
All right.
Jeremy Idell, 1714141 Simon Lane. Randy, thanks for bringing that up. I've been in some of those meetings, and everything they said was over my head. You know, some of the parishes there had dedicated, I know Mr. Mark's got many hats, but they had dedicated personnel to chase this money 24/7. And I think in addition to that resolution, we should add as well to have a dedicated person to chase that money. Because if we spent 50 grand, 70 grand, and we knocked down 2.5 million or whatever, I think the return on investment there would be well received, and I appreciate y'all's consideration for that. Thanks.
I wish we had John Daughters back. He's getting all that money.
Jeff, Randy, if you
Go ahead, Scooter.
got one little thing. Today I saw, and it was Facebook crap, so you never know, that Clay had worked with Garrett Graves, and they had gotten the money and complete funding to rebuild the weir and dredge the river from Port Vincent all the way to the lake. That it was funded. They waiting on the letter from somebody to approve the start date. Now, whether that
would be awesome news.
It would be awesome news. So I was excited, like Mark said, when I saw that, and I said, now I hope this is real, because
that would be awesome.
That would be amazing for Lower Livingston.
That gives you a way to get the water out the
Yes,
parish.
sir.
You got to get the water out the parish.
All right, that's it.
All right. Everything's still good? Go on. All right, Ms. Sandy, what's your call for the vote on that?
Did you want to talk, Tommy?
Oh.
I seen that gentleman had his hand up. Did you want to talk? If you want to, it's up to you. You don't have to. You don't have to.
Let him talk you into it now. Don't let Randy talk you into that.
Gentlemen, my name's Tommy Mitchell. 12 years ago, I was in front of one of your council meetings, and I was told by a gentleman that he knew more people up here and had more money than I did, so he could do what he wanted to do. Now, I don't know how fair that is to people out here, citizens, but that doesn't sound too good. And then recently, Mr. Talbot goes before the council.
Wait. You have to be talking about the flooding.
It is, I am.
Okay.
Exactly right, about a flood issue, about a drainage issue.
Right now, you're talking about other people.
Oh, no.
Talk about the flooding.
I'm flooding issue.
Stay on top.
12 years ago, and then after I brought everything to the man, the drainages were blocked and all that, I got sued for $1 million. I had to go to court because I spoke up. There's a drainage problem everywhere. We know we can't stop growth. There's no doubt. You can't stop it, but you keep altering it like it is, and it does have its effects, and all of y'all seen that. I've got a problem right now to where he has a big gravel pit, a big lake. There was wetlands all back through there. All these wetlands had a place to where they used to drain off eventually, but not anymore. It's all built up. There's a cupboard back there on wetlands. You know, and it's just too much hanky-panky going on. And I don't know what's going on. Mr. Talbot is in our district, you know, and he'll tell you right now, you know, you can't buck the system when your own parish president goes against you. That doesn't look good on anybody up here. But yes, on Sims Road, we are redoing a highway. It's going to be an interstate through there. I know what's going to happen.
I need you to get back on flooding.
That's what I am. But anyhow, they are doing some drainage digging right now. And it's going to cause some flooding on people. It's causing it right now on me. Because our water can't drain off. Our water has nowhere to go. If it can't run back like it used to Spiller's Creek, can't get there, well then everybody around me is, you know, suffering the consequences of it. Everybody. I don't know how these engineers come in here, but I had an engineer with a gravity drainage man come in here and told me, well, that was wetlands. There's nothing they can do about it. Well, I won my case about 12 years ago, and the ditch was dug out. But now they tell me that they couldn't find the records on it or something other. It was never dug. So I don't understand, you know, the laws. That's the reason I'm not up here, because I get too aggravated. But when one person can do this to alter drainage, and then another person does it, and they get, you know, the shit slapped out of them, I got $1 million lawsuit out of it, it's not right. It's not right. It shouldn't be that way. Each one of y'all have a district to take care of. Each one of you. Y'all represent the people. Well, it looks like the big businesses are beating the people.
Sam, will you get
We have a motion in a
Florida Law
second.
to get that address?
I do have a motion in a second.
Drainage
Question.
issues that they're having on Sims Road with respect to that?
All right, Mr. Girlinghouse just called the question. Ms. Sandy, I need you to call for the,
Are we gonna add Mr. Jeremy
it's
Idell's
up to Randy, it's his motion.
dedicated person assigned to, he called it Chase Money, I think he was like to collect the money.
Let's see what the administration does with the resolution first.
I agree.
Gotcha. Mr. Delat,
Yes.
Mr. McMorris,
Yes.
Mr. Girlinghouse.
Yes.
Mr. Ard,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Wascom,
Yes.
Mr. Mack,
Yeah.
Mr. King, Mr. Talbot.
All right, let's get back on track to Livingston Parish Planning Commission recommendations. Mr. Sam.
Okay, guys, I think the first on the agenda has been pulled again, that deferred on that Duff Road.
Yeah.
I don't think they still got their letter yet, so if you don't mind, we'll pass over that and we'll go to the minor resub in Mr. Gary Talbot's district on Chandler Bluff. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the minor resub for Mr. Anthony Fiduci.
Sam, can we take B and C together? There are a bunch of individuals from that live on Chandler Bluff that want to come address this. So Jeff, since
Yeah, sure, we can
Both of
go
them
ahead and
are
read
same.
that one.
Go ahead and read that one. So,
On the second one, it's a minor resub on lot AF2, which is right next door to it. This is also in Mr. Gary's district on Chandler Bluff, and it is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the minor resub for Mr. Anthony Fiduci.
So,
I think there's some.
there are a bunch of,
yeah, I'm gonna start calling some out. Mr.
Any waivers on that?
John Hay?
Any waivers on that?
My name's John Hay. I live at 7,000 Chandler Bluff Road, and I want to say a few words about this. we live on Chandler Bluff Road, and this project that presented for this 14 trailer lots, we're on the south, we live on Chandler Bluff, which is on the south side of that project. And that road covers about approximately 300 feet on that side of the project. And it's off of Louisiana Highway 1019, which Chandler Bluff is. It's a dead-end road. It's approximately a half a mile long. It's 16 feet wide in most places. And to pass a car, you either have to get off on the side of the road, or you may fall in a ditch, and it's happened before. You fall in a ditch and you have to be pulled out. Because it's 16 feet wide, two cars can't pass by there. Recently, we've had a fire truck and a garbage truck had to back up to get out. They weren't able to turn around down there. And that's a turnaround area for 2 school buses and the garbage trucks, the mail trucks, and all kind of delivery trucks turn around. That's the only place to turn around is right here at the end of that road, right near my house. There's a proposal to put 14 trailers in there, and I estimated there would be approximately 2 cars per trailer. And I know that's pretty accurate because I made a survey on our road, and that's about what the average is for a house. So that's 28 cars. And that's just too much for that road, I think. Because we have children playing on there, they ride their bicycles. It's not safe for the children. And if we had a smaller number of vehicles, it would probably be a doable project, but it's just so many vehicles with the traffic already down there that I just don't believe that that's going to work out. So we're asking the council to postpone this thing for a while and do some more studying on it and see what can be done to it. See if they can use fewer lots or what can be done to improve the situation there.
Thank you. All right, let's see, Scott Lobel. Amy Wheat. Patrick Moore.
Yes, sir. Gentlemen, my name is Patrick Moore, and I live at 7091 Chandler Bluff Road. I've been a resident there since '82. And not to repeat what Mr. Hay had just said, but the road is 15 foot wide. And you have just passed a moratorium that requires a minimum of 18 feet. And I was at the planning meeting last night and spoke. And I asked them about it, and they had said, and they admitted, the people on the planning commission said, yes, it is a dangerous road already. So now what we're wanting to do, and basically I asked it, so what, we're gonna add 14 more homes so we can make it 5 times more dangerous. But bottom line is, I'm a contractor, and I know there was a permit pulled, but if you pull a permit, that doesn't give you just carte blanche to build whatever happens, especially if it involves safety. We've had to shut jobs down, we've had to redo things. That permit doesn't do it. And how long has it taken to get these moratoriums in to slow this building down? Because we're doing things that are ruining the parish. And in this case, there are, I'm gonna say 16 or 18 residents on that street already. And you can't go up and down it now. I have pulled out multiple vehicles. We've had children go off in the ditch in the mud. You're looking at 14 lots. You're gonna have equipment coming in and out of there, deliveries, concrete truck, and the road is not even, Gary, I'm sure he's familiar with Chandler Bluff. It's been a problem. They've admitted to it. They've also admitted that, yeah, we're gonna let this guy do it because it's a moratorium. I believe they had legal counsel there, and the young lady was trying to tell the council members that just because a man pulls a permit doesn't mean that he does not have to, if something else comes up, especially life safety, and on a road like this, I beg you to all come drive down that road if you're not familiar with it. And if you believe that it would be all right to put another 14 homes at the end of that road, I don't understand it. And after all this, in this moratorium, wasn't it passed to make sure that we didn't create more problems? So from a legal standpoint, I've spoke to an attorney, I've spoke to my architect, and they both agreed that because the man pulled a permit, he did what the parish required of him. That does not, this supersedes if there's a moratorium or if there's safety issues. If it was a burial grounds, whatever, if they found bones there, they would have to stop the project. We're talking about people that are living there that we can't drive up and down our road now. And you're gonna add 30 vehicles, probably full-time, and for the next year, I can't even imagine. And on top of that, I don't think the road will take it. You're gonna bring all that heavy equipment and down that road, it's just not there. There are no shoulders on the road. There are ditches within a foot and a half. You drive off the road a foot and a half and you're gonna go down into a mud hole ditch that they hold water already. The drainage already backs up into my yard. I don't know how you're farther down there. You're probably getting flooded. There's no drainage down there. They did address, they said that they did something with, talk to gravity drainage about improving it, but we're already having a problem, and now they're gonna put 14 more, so you've cleared, what is it, 2.5, 3 acres of land. Sir?
Go ahead, wrap it up, you're about to run out of time.
All right. That's just gonna be more water coming down there. You're gonna be putting streets and whatever in there. It can't handle what we got now. But bottom line is, it's a safety issue, and the parish, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, that road's supposed to be 18 foot wide if you build another subdivision, correct?
I got something to say about that.
Hold on. All right, that's it. You finished? Well, somebody's gonna answer your question, but I didn't,
Yeah,
okay. All right.
And will you be willing to go look at that road? Because have we done surveys on drainage? Have we done surveys on traffic? Have we done any of this?
I think we'll fix and have a little discussion on that.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. So just, let's let everybody that's got something to say finish before we start. Trey? Caldwell, nothing to say? All right, so that was all that was on the list to speak. So is there anybody that didn't sign up? This wants 2 minutes. Come on.
My projects that I put in before the new ordinances were established, so I should be going by the old ordinances.
Anthony, introduce yourself.
My name's Anthony Fiducia. I'm the owner of the project.
Your address?
My address is 34122 LA Highway 1019. This is some email correspondence and measurements of the road, if you have any questions.
Appreciate that.
Email correspondence go back to March for the planning office. I believe that I'm supposed to be following the old ordinances, and now they're telling me I need to follow the new ordinances. But
What is the length? What is the width of it?
18 foot 6 inches.
Is 18 foot 6 inches?
Yes, sir. I don't believe that I should even be here. It should have passed through planning. There was no rules being broken, and now I'm here, drug out my project even longer.
That all you have?
Okay.
That's all you needed to say?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
I have one question. Please?
Real quick.
Real quick. I know this is about money too, and I don't mean anything funny about it. The man's spent money and time, but from what I see, he has cleared the property. There has been no improvements made yet. There has been no money spent for utilities, roads, anything. The property has been cleared. And that property, I can't say because I don't know what the man's intention was, but he certainly would have cleared it to sell the property, whether it would be 1 lot or 2 lots or whatever. So the idea of building a house or two, I don't think anybody on Channel Bluff Road is opposed to that. But the idea of the 14 houses at the end of that street with that 15-foot road, everybody on the street has signed a petition that they do not want it.
Okay, thank you.
Do it on here.
All right, is there any comments from the council on any of this? Gary, it's your area, so.
And I've gotten tons of calls on it. There seems to be some confusion in how some of these ordinances are applied. In the fact that, you know, when 125, when you amend 125, there are certain sections that can be applied at any point in time in the project, and there are other sections that can only be applied if prior to the project submission. Am I correct, Mr. Moody, in the way that ordinance is written?
So you guys wrote that ordinance, yes. Some of your ordinances can apply to even projects that have already been in the submittal stage.
Right. So my question is there are two specific issues here that are in, well, there are three. I have three concerns. One is how does density apply to this? I know the submittal was before it, but is density a retroactive, you know, situation with respect to how it works? And I think planning needs to evaluate that and figure it out. Does the road safety issue, the 18-foot apply? Look, I know where Mr. Fiducia measured was 18.2, but the road's not 18.2 consistently throughout. So, you know, I asked DPW to go out and measure the road. There's 15 in spots, 16 typically most of the way. There it is 18 in some spots. I mean, there's no doubt. But the road is not consistently one width. So DPW need to go measure that. We need to figure out how that applies in this situation. And legal's gonna have to make some recommendations on some of that stuff. I think Mr. Cassio kind of implied last night that some of those regulations should apply to the situation. My biggest concern is that when this property was bought, there were 4 tracts of land. 4 tracts of land were converted into 2 tracts of land. And then immediately after that, 2 tracts of land were subdivided into 7 lots apiece. And it wasn't a land swap. A land swap is if I buy 2 acres from you and I move your 2 acres to my 2 acres and create no additional lots. That's a land swap. But 4 lots were bought. 2 lots were too small to be buildable, but they had all the road frontage. And those lots were merged with other lots to create 2 separate tracts of land. They took 4 lots to create 2 separate tracts of land and then subdivided those each individual tracts of land into 7 pieces of property. And that's my concern, because we basically have a law that says after you modify a tract of land, you've got to wait 2 years before you modify it again. Am I correct?
That's correct. That's my understanding.
Okay, so we bought a piece of property that was 4 lots. We merged them into 2 lots, and then took those 2 lots immediately and chopped it up into 7 lots. Now there are emails from DPW or from planning that talked about a land swap, and in the email says that there's not a problem with the first one, but there is a concern about the second one. And did acknowledge that after they were put back together, there were 2 separate tracts of property. So that's how they came up with the 14 lots. I think that needs to be looked at. I think Mr. Moody needs to evaluate, go back to the original transaction for the purchase of the 4 lots, look at the merger of the 4 lots into 2, then look at the 2 lots into 7 each. So what we end up with 14 lots. It's a 14 lot subdivision.
Well, I'm sorry.
It's a 14 lot subdivision with no engineering.
I'd like to speak.
Okay, I mean, you're gonna get your shot. So I think that Mr. Moody needs to evaluate the transactions as they took place. Look at the sale of the lots. Look at where they came from, how they were put together, and then how they were subdivided, and see how they correspond with our ordinance. So given that situation, I would like to recommend, and I don't know if this is the time, to send it back to planning and resolve those 3 issues. Resolve the density issue with respect to the new ordinance. Does the density issue apply? You know, we know when he made the submittal, does the density ordinance apply? We know when he made the submittal, does the road situation apply, because it's a safety issue? And thirdly, when you put those 2 pieces of property back together, do you have to wait 2 years before you chop them up again? And I mean, that's the that's all I want, that evaluation from planning, and after we get that evaluation from planning, yeah, I mean, that's what I want. I mean, and so that's a motion. I mean, but I think after we get that evaluation from planning, then all the questions will be answered. The people that live on Chandler Bluff will have all their questions answered. There is some confusion about what was said last night by I think Brad was at the meeting.
Right, but he knew nothing about this.
Right. So
general question.
Right, I understand. And look, I mean, it's hard when you sit there, you don't have Alexis next in front of your computer, and you can go evaluate everything and go look at case law and all that stuff to answer. I mean, y'all represent more than one parish, so consequently, I know I get well reversed in stuff sometimes too. So, I mean, I'm not criticizing, but I'm just saying that there's, it's a lot when you have to answer questions off the cuff. So, I think that given this situation and the concerns of the individuals and the number of phone calls I've received, and look, I've seen Anthony's developments. He really does a good job. I'm not really concerned about his development. What I am concerned about is that those individuals get their questions answered. Is the road situation apply here? If it doesn't, that's fine. If does the density situation apply here? If it doesn't, that's fine. And if we put lots back together, can we chop them up immediately, or does the law require us to have a time frame to before we come back? Let's figure out what the law says. Mr. Moody can render that decision, can give that information to planning, and planning can then, based on that information, if he says something contrary to what they thought when they voted on this, they can make an educated, informed decision. I think the residents, those people that live on Chandler Bluff, at least deserve that courtesy. And I'm sorry about that. I know what they told you at planning, but we're holding contractors that
Two separate legals, though. So two separate legals go by two separate rules.
Two separate what?
Two separate legals of the lots. Go by two different sets of rules.
I understand. I'm not questioning A1 and A2 being separate. What I'm questioning.
When I bought it, there was 4 separate tracts of land with 4 separate
I understand.
legal descriptions, which I can divide each one according to your ordinances.
You took 4. You couldn't divide those properties.
I could have got 4 resubs right there.
You couldn't. You didn't have road frontage on 2 of the lots until you put the other 2 together.
That's an exchange of property.
It's not an exchange of property.
Yes, it was. It was noted by your planning department that that's what it was.
Let Mr. Moody.
There's correspondence emails in there saying.
I understand. Let Mr. Moody evaluate.
So I was told one thing, and then now it's changing.
Let Mr. Moody evaluate.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
Is Gary finished? Yeah. I see the problem Gary's talking about, and I see it on all these developments that we got now. We've kind of been pushing and pushing. I would like to make a motion that everything that's been sent to us from the planning commission be sent right back to them. I feel like all the questions and answers haven't been there. Some's on the tie vote, some's and I don't have nothing against you, sir, but it'd be hard for me to vote for you the way the things are. These people came up here.
For the way the rules are set.
And the way
I wouldn't follow emotional things. If you set us a guidelines as developers.
And that's why I want to get it back there.
With your rules, and now you're changing your rules.
I'm not changing anything. I want someone to tell me
are.
what they are. I didn't change nothing. I just need someone to tell me how to interpret the rules. I want to clarify. I would like to make a motion to send all the planning from Mr. Sam, I think it was 3 of them, right? Send them all back to the planning department.
That would be, it's actually 4.
Well, we got the AT&T tower.
Okay,
is there any rules that I mean, I don't know what the recommendation was, and I don't know if there were any situations that let's just address them all. I mean, I understand we're all in the same boat, but look, there are questions on how this moratorium applied, how these rules apply under this thing, and I think we need to get those resolved so that the citizens are treated fairly, the developers are treated fairly. That's just my opinion.
Mine too.
I made the motion to request it to go back to planning to address those 3 specific issues.
I'll second it.
Minor resub, B and C, and Belair subdivision.
No, that's Randy's.
No, we're gonna do them individually. We're gonna address B and C that go back to planning.
I'm good.
No, I mean, I'm not saying that I disagree with what Randy said. Let's just don't muddy the water. Let's send B and C back.
So B and C, so you got a motion to send B and C back.
To answer 3 questions.
I'll second it.
Density.
You second.
Density, the putting the lots back together and resubbing and the road width. That's, answer those three questions and then give planning that information and then let them vote on it. All right? All right.
We're gonna vote again.
All right, Ms. Sandy, call for the vote on that.
Mr. Del,
I can say, if we live there, or someone has and they can't get in.
We understand, that's why we're trying.
You're getting ready to get a small win. Let's take it, let's let planning evaluate it based on these new rules. Let's just figure out what's going on.
That's right.
Okay, Ms. Sandy, call for the vote.
Mr. Delat,
Yes.
Mr. McMorris.
Yes.
Mr. Girlinghouse.
Yes.
Mr. Ard.
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Wascom.
Yes.
Mr. Mack.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Mr. Talbert.
Yes.
All right, so B and C is back to planning. All right.
we have? I mean, as far as this taking place?
Next month.
Next month. That's the next planning.
The next planning meeting will be the first Wednesday of August.
So as the people of Chandler Bluff Road, we have time to file a suit if necessary.
Well, I mean, right now, nothing's been approved. Right now, you're in a situation where at the first meeting in August, the planning commission Mr. Moody will evaluate as the parish engineer, those two ordinances that were recently, can they be applied retroactively to an introduction, to a submission? He will also look at how the property was formed from 4 lots to 2. He will make those evaluations, make that recommendation to planning. At that point in time, planning will meet on the first Wednesday in August, render a decision, and then at the second Thursday in August, it'll be before this council again to accept or deny planning's recommendation.
One other question I've never had answered. Did they not agree, the planning council, that road was already dangerous?
Well, it's irrelevant. That's not part of the ordinance.
Come on, we voted, let's move on. 13D is AT&T Tower, or Mr. Sam, that's you.
Mr. Bubba Harris's district, Vertical Bridge 500 LLC is the developer. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for the AT&T Tower. That's with no waivers. That's just like the ordinance.
Look, I don't think anything we've had changed that, so Bubba, you want to make?
Bubba said he's gonna offer the motion on that.
I'll second Mr. Harris's motion.
We got a second by,
I don't know that we had a few concerned citizens there.
I'm fixing to, hold on, I got a list. We're on D. Scott Lobel.
No question.
Amy Wheat. Darrell? Shake Snyder. Come on.
My name is Dirk Shake Snyder, and I live on Forest Lat Road, which is on the corner of Homer Lawrence Lane. And that is a private road. And my concern is when they come and construct these towers, I mean, we have a blacktop road, and these trucks are going to come down there. If there's any damage done to our road, how is that going to be taken care of, for one? And then our property value decreasing with the tower. I mean, it's eyeshot of my back door, So, and that's really the only two questions I have on this, because like I said, it is a private road. That is the access for them to go back there to build this tower. Okay.
Question.
Chris?
Private road, but not a public or parish road?
No, Homer Lawrence Lane is a private road.
Wait, is it a public road that's not, is it a public road but not parish maintained? Or
That's
is
right.
Okay, so it's a public road, but it's not parish maintained.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's public, somebody still owns it, just the public has the right to use it.
Right.
That's correct. It goes through my property. All of my neighbors have the right of way.
Who paved it? Did the parish pave it?
No. It was paid by the people who own the road, who the road goes through.
So
how is it public?
Wait, could that be considered over encumbering a servitude by having someone other than the property owner utilize it? I mean, you,
Right away, yeah.
huh?
I'm not so sure that
Let's
I
bring
don't
them
know
all
what the
back.
circumstances are and how they all got their right of way.
Right.
All by their deeds, well, then only those landowners have the right to use it, so it's a private servitude there.
Right.
It's public in the sense that everybody that lives on the road
many
has a right to
questions.
use
Yeah,
it.
trash trucks and, things like that have the right.
You want to offer a motion to send this back to planning and find out what kind of servitude exists to make sure that AT&T has the right to utilize that road for construction?
Probably a good idea.
He makes that motion, I'll second that.
All right, so we got Mr. Harris going to change his motion to send it back to planning.
Thank you.
And we got a second from Mr. Mr. Talbot.
Can't believe it. We look just
I'm sorry for both of y'all for that. I'm sorry for both of y'all for that.
That's good information.
Yes, sir.
Is he on the list?
Yeah, this is AT&T guy.
My name is Tom Holloman. I'm represent the Vertical Bridge Cell Tower Company. That's the developer. And I'd like to address a couple of things that came up to you. The owner of the property, Keith Lawrence, just a little backdrop, his dad developed all that property. And they own the mini storage property at the back. And they are the property owner that also uses that road to get back to the mini storage. And our proposed tower is behind the mini storage. So the road that we're talking about is been there forever. And everybody that lives out there, including the owner of the property with the mini storage, that's how he gets back to the mini storage. And that's what we will be using. Or anytime that we do a project like this, we do a lot of due diligence and check all the legalities of the access and do title searches, and we have done all that. And nothing has shown up to prevent us from using the same road that our landowner is using to get back to his mini storage. So just want to throw that out there. So we feel that everything is properly and in order and legal to be able to use that road. So from what we have been determined by our title company is that all the people that are on that road, it was originally when they sold off those lots, they each were granted the use of that road. But it was Mr. Lawrence that developed that. He's deceased now, Mr. Homer Lawrence, I believe. So I just throw that out there. I want to let y'all know that. And I'll be happy to answer any more questions that you have. I just want to...
So when they bought.
Wait. Randy, go ahead.
Basically, I understand what you're saying, but particularly being he's passed away, if there's any damage to the road, the gentleman asked a simple question, who's going to repair it? None of us can give him that answer. It needs to get brought back, and someone has to come with that answer, whether it's going to be you when you resubmit it or your engineer, but someone has to tell parish government if there's some damages done, who is going to fix it, because parish government is not going to spend their money on a private or public road.
No.
And we're still going to get those calls. So this is a simple one where we can nip it in the bud and get all the answers where they're supposed to be in the preliminary, and not have 4-hour discussions over here and still not know. Because you're not going to build the road. You're not the engineer, are you?
No, but I can tell you right now, we will repair
Well, we've
any...
been asking you to tell us. You ain't told us nothing. We've been asking you to tell us who's going to build the road. If
Well,
it gets...
I'm fixing to answer you. Let me
Okay,
answer you.
I thought you had been up there 15 minutes. I'm sorry. Okay, my mistake.
So I will tell you right now, we will repair any damage that we do to that road, as we do any road that we...
You had that in writing on a document?
On what document?
Well, we'll have to get that in writing right there.
Well, sure. So I'm giving it to you right now, publicly.
That ain't good enough.
Well, I mean, in other words, that kind of...
Call for a vote.
Well, that kind of
Wait a minute.
requirement...
Mr. Talbot had asked to speak first. Go ahead.
That kind of requirement, like that or any other requirement, is usually, if you want to put it in writing, is made part of the approval of the project. And certainly, when we move to the building permit part of it, those are all kind of things that you put in writing. You must repair the damage to the road. We do that anyway, but to have it in writing, that's how we do it, to satisfy the jurisdiction. So that's easily done, and we do it all the time, and that's...
Well, if we vote tonight without that in writing, then you're approved. So basically, what we're asking to do is send it back to planning, let Mr. Moody answer the question whether who owns the road? Is the road owned by the gentleman in the back, or is the road owned by everybody who lives upon it? Is the property line down the center? And then you come to planning with that document that says if you damage that road, it'll be prepared, and I'm sure when it comes before this council in a month, it'll be approved.
I feel like,
Go ahead, Mr. Gerlin.
I feel like that the gentleman in the back uses the road, has access to the road, then he should be able to have it built, but need to hear that. Because, you know, he has, the guy whose property is being built on actually uses the road. He's part of it, so even though it is private, but I would like to see the, we're gonna fix it if we tear it up clause, because it's not in a situation where we can actually do it if it's as a parish, not being a parish road. And I agree. The residents on that road are still parish citizens, so I feel like you're gonna get it.
Well, my only last question is, how, can't you assure of doing that by making approval subject to you repairing the road?
I tell you what we could make the motion that if you came back in 2 weeks with a letter that said you were gonna repair the road, that we could just defer this for 2 weeks to this council, and you bring the letter back that says you're gonna do it, and the parish attorney says grace over your letter, then we could vote on it at that point in time.
That's easily done.
Instead of deferring it a whole month, we could resolve it that way.
I agree. I'll second that.
Well, Mr. Harris got the motion, so.
He already made the motion. We got a second.
Okay.
What's the motion, one more time?
For 2 weeks.
Well, his motion was to send it back to planning.
So you make a secondary motion.
Well, I seconded his motion, so I'm trying to get Mr. Harris to change his motion to defer it 2 weeks.
You want to do that?
Yeah,
All right, so
bring
we're
it
going to
back
change
with
it to
letter.
defer it
Instead
2
of
weeks.
making him wait till the next planning, defer
Okay.
it 2 weeks, he brings a letter that says they'll fix the
have
road, and
somebody
then
else
we'll move
on
on.
that.
Yeah,
Bring it here.
Yeah, they
Get
can
with,
bond
get
it
with
or
Mr.
whatever.
Get with Mr.
Yeah.
Moody, get with the parish clerk to put Mr. Moody, send him the letter, let him review it, then we'll be forward. We'll be good.
Thank you. That's doable. That's doable.
Hold up, nope, this lady right here.
9120 Idle Lane. My family property actually has a cell phone tower on it, and to address one of, I don't remember who it was, concerns, I know our cell tower, we required them to build it to look like a tree, to where it did not affect property owners in the area, so that may be something you can discuss with them. And then they have always fixed our roads. We have never had an issue. That's automatically in their contracts. When you do the contract with them, the landowner does, that's part of it. They will repair any roads. They will repair if they knock down your fence post. They will come out and they will repair it. They are, I cannot say enough positive about these cell phone tower companies. They fix what they mess up, because they have broke many a times the road and like our private road, and they have fixed and poured a whole new road all the way back for us when they didn't even have to do that. They could have just repaired what was right there. So I will tell y'all that they do, it is in their contracts with the landowner that they will repair the roads. And the
Same
surrounding
company?
roads.
The same company?
So,
AT&T.
seriously about the tree thing, if you're concerned, they do have them that look like trees. Y'all would not even know they look like a cell phone tower.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
So-
All right.
Do we need to do, you want to call the vote?
Yeah, call for the vote.
Mr. Delat.
I'm sorry. Calling for vote, yes.
Yes.
Mr. McMorris.
Yes.
Mr. Girlinghouse.
Yes.
Mr. Ard.
Yes.
Mr. Harris. Absent.
Absent.
Mr. Wascom. Absent.
Let
Yes. No.
let me say something. Let me ask a question. Don't we have an ordinance that says your tower cannot, isn't there mini storages under this tower, or
Live in front of it.
are they within the distance of the height of the tower?
But if the property owner waives it, it doesn't matter.
Don't we have did we just pass an ordinance that
We didn't.
required?
No, we didn't.
We didn't
deferred
pass-
it. We deferred it.
Okay, so okay, I thought they had a law that said, okay, yes.
Wascom, yes. Mr. Mack.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Mr. Talbot.
Yes.
And Mr. Harris
Harris
is
is
back.
back.
Harris is here if you want to ask him. Yes.
Would you vote yes or no to approve
Yeah.
this being deferred until July the 28th? Okay.
All right, third,
when they do the thing on the notification of this, can I get some of that?
Here at the next meeting.
20 what? 28th, huh?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
28th.
Just talk to the gentleman and give him your information. I'm sure he'll be glad to notify you. All right.
I said no.
Okay, I got you.
All right, let's move on. 13, Sam, I don't want to take your thunder from you.
Steve?
I think there's plenty of thunder to be had.
Where are we? E?
E.
13E.
Okay, this is a subdivision with improvements. Valerie subdivision, Valera, developer Ascension Properties, Randy DeLatte's district. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission. I don't know whether I want to say, it was a 4-4 tie. Unfortunately, we had 8 council members, or commissioners.
There's no
and
recommendation.
It was a 4-4 tie. So here we are. Bless you.
All right, guys, this is something I know that no matter which way we go, everybody's going to be disheartened. I attended that meeting last night. I honestly felt it shouldn't have been a 4-4 vote. I honestly felt it should have been an unanimous vote. I felt like they didn't reach the ordinances. They said that we was going to use the new ordinances. I would like to make a motion that we send it back to the planning commission, let them use the new ordinances that's been passed, and do it from there.
I'll second that.
So we got a motion and a second. So hold on. I got a long list of people here.
So let's have a discussion before we go through the long list. We got a motion and a second to send it back. We can talk about it for days here before we vote about sending it back, or we can just send it back and go through the new process. I'll do it any way you want to. I'm just wondering if we need to have, look, if y'all want to have discussion, have discussion. I'm just wondering if we would be better served to send it back. We're going to adopt a new procedure in a little while. Make them follow the new procedure, which means the planning will give the phase 1 approval or disapproval based on whether it meets the guidelines. Then the studies will be done. And after the studies are done, you come back for the phase 3. Is that how it's set up, Ms. White? I don't remember.
Phase 2.
Yeah.
Phase 2. And so, look, it's already been designed according to the new guidelines. So if we send it back tonight, instead of having this long drawn out discussion about he said, she said, what's going on and then follow the new process that came out of the moratorium that's still in place, but the new process that came about, follow all those guidelines, see how that process works. If the public wants to talk, let the public talk, but I'm just wondering if we'd be better served to let the process that has been developed because of the moratorium move forward and see if it works.
And I agree with, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Randy.
I agree with Mr. Talbot. And in addition to that, there's going to be twice, that the planning commission is going to hear this. And so there's plenty enough time. It's been since December working this. I think surely we can't say, okay, they're only following some of the ordinances, but they're not following the rest of them. After tonight, all the ordinances will be in place. And to me, if y'all would cut us a break, y'all regroup, the developer regroups, and y'all not gonna get everything y'all want. They not gonna get everything they want. But it's time to make what we can live with and can't live with, because it's not gonna go on for weeks and weeks and months like it has. Our last shot is gonna be the last 2 preliminaries. I would like to see maybe Sam bring some groups in, some people from this side, and some group in on from Derek's side, and see what's the worst point. What people can live with, what they can't live with, because it's going to happen. We know it's going to happen. We don't know what time of the year it's going to happen, or how many years, because we know each side's got a legal team. But the bottom line is, we've done as much as we can do for y'all. We passed as many ordinances that we can agree on to pass. We can pass 1,000 more, but we ain't gonna all agree on those 1,000 more. So basically what we got now is gonna be our best case. And if y'all, I would ask y'all to allow us to send this back to the planning department and everybody work as diligently as they can without trying to fall out and cause hard feelings. You know, because whatever happens is gonna happen. And I think I know it's easy for me to say that because I'm not living there, but I think y'all came a long way and y'all got a lot of things accomplished. I think the drainage is gonna be better. I think the road's gonna get improved. Now, yeah, you're gonna have more traffic. I don't know what to say about the schools. There's not a whole lot I can say about that. Other than what Derek said, it may not be but 50 homes a year or something, so that may try out.
If the economy doesn't improve, it might not be 50 homes a year.
Yeah. So anyway, is that motion made or not?
Yeah, Gary made the motion.
Well, Brady made the motion, I just
I'm
seconded
sorry.
it. And then I just asked before we had the public discussion, could we just talk about, you know, what we're trying to accomplish here?
Does
without
everyone
having a-
understand or y'all need discussions?
Oh, wait.
Well, technically, it's not an agenda. You can allow public input if you want to. but it's not really-
I would.
All right,
I would.
let's
I agree
do
with Moody.
this.
I agree with Moody.
Let's do this. I'm gonna allow 3 people to come up and speak. Y'all pick which 3 y'all want, because we're gonna defer it. So,
Well, we don't know that yet.
yeah.
Well, that hadn't
Well,
been
Yeah, we
voted
do.
on yet.
Maybe we should,
Well, it hadn't been yet, but
Well, we can defer it and then let them speak.
Deferred, they don't have
Yeah.
to speak.
if you defer it, then you can limit some, right?
defer it first.
Then it's off that.
Okay, hold up, let us vote on it, and if it gets deferred, I will give the time to speak. Okay, all right. I'll allow that.
What is the date of the next planning commission meeting? August the 3rd. What happens if there's a hurricane? If there's a pandemic? If we all have COVID or monkeypox by then? And there's
they're
no
able to
planning
hear
meeting
it.
in August?
Till they're able
hold
to
on.
hear it in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
The
So is that how
moratorium
it
stands.
works? Because 60 days of no action taken means automatic approval, does it not? So does that not come into play if you make the decision to defer tonight? If the council makes the decision to defer, does the 60-day clock that started last night stop ticking?
Could come into play, yes.
So do we need to maybe reword this can we reword it saying that basically it's on
Contingents
hold?
on the,
And
How does it
Well,
come?
the question is, when does the 60-day clock start?
well, let's start, can we
critical
make a motion to
question.
start the clock at the next council meeting? At the,
It's
No.
that clock.
When
The
they-
state,
it's
the
supposed to be
state
when you
sets the
submit.
clock.
But it really doesn't stay in the state statute. So there's some argument taken up by the planning commission. They have 60 days to argue that it starts from the day they make their submittal. In this time, the target has been such a moving target. In my opinion,
So from June 16th, let's clarify what the last submittal date was. It was June 16th. So 60 days from June 16th.
that would be the longest.
So a week-ish after that meeting. That would be the earliest that the 60-day clock would run out.
Just gotta
So
hope there
a
ain't
1
no
or 2
pandemic.
week delay during hurricane season seems like a mighty strong possibility considering August is hurricane month.
That happens in any particular project, really. Planning commissions don't always have the right information. They often have to defer.
But it's the intent of this council to send it back to planning to get your questions answered. And that's not going to happen if an automatic approval happens instead. Am I understanding this correctly?
automatic approval would
We
be
can't,
after.
I mean, automatic approval is state law. I mean, ultimately, look, I don't think I understand what you're saying. I don't think you're gonna get 5 yeses to approve it. I don't think you'll get 5 noes to kill it. I think
I'm not asking for you, I'm fine with the defer. I think planning is probably the right decision. But I think,
But state law is state law, and we can't override that.
I guess the question is, do you want it deferred, or do you want to hear it heard out here tonight?
we're going to have weekly prayer meetings to pray down the COVID and the hurricanes, I guess.
I'm just-
to-
Look, I
because
got
it
my
sure
penis
seems like-
down, so
Sam,
monkeypox
correct me if
vaccine.
I'm
It sure
wrong, but
seems like we're on the
typically
way
when
to
a
automatic
hurricane's
approval.
coming, don't y'all go ahead and have the meetings a little early in case a hurricane's coming, or have you ever?
Yeah, but that is because they can't advertise it early enough.
We gotta go at best
We
case.
can't do what ifs, guys. We
So-
just gotta move on.
So I was at the meeting last night. I think both sides had some good arguments. I think the other side, from the town of Bayou Barbary, has some legitimate points that we stood up and told the planning commission, don't let it go through. I mean, it's black and white. On the denial, you had to, when we deferred it, they had to have signatures or a written statement to put it back on the agenda for that night. We didn't do that. But they still voted on it anyway. And I begged them not to, so we wouldn't be in the position we in tonight. All right? Take that into consideration.
I'd like to call for a question and vote on the motion to defer.
We got to vote. We have to vote. I'll let you speak after, but we have, he called the question.
Call the question.
Chris?
Like I told you, I don't think you have to have public input if it's not going to be voted on.
Sandy call.
He called the question. So, Ms. Sandy, call for the vote.
I'd like to make a substitute motion.
All right.
I'd like to,
Discussion?
what's that?
To continue discussion?
No, I want to make a substitute motion.
Yeah, to continue discussion, because
No.
if it's anything other than continue
No.
discussion, you-
I mean, if we're going to hurry up and vote,
No, but that's what I'm saying. We're called the question. So you
Okay.
have to make a motion
I'm
to
making a
continue discussion if you want to.
That's the only motion can be made.
The only thing you can make right now is to continue discussion.
and then you can make whatever motion you want.
so you have a motion and a second, that's the point to have a substitute
Oh,
motion.
we can't, then we had a question.
But he called the question
before you
He
made the
called the question
substitute
first.
motion.
Okay, I'd like to continue the discussion.
So you want to make a motion to continue section? So do
Discussion.
I have a second on that?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. McMorris.
There's objection, so let's vote.
All right, so this is a vote to continue discussion. Ms. Sandy, call for the,
Mr. Delat,
No.
Mr. McMorris.
Yes.
Mr. Girlinghouse,
No.
Mr. Ard,
no.
Mr. Harris. No. Mr. Wascom,
Yes.
Mr. Mack,
Yes.
Mr. King,
No.
Mr. Talbert.
No. All right, now back to the original motion.
To defer.
To defer.
Mr. Delat,
Yes.
Mr. McMorris,
No.
Mr. Girlinghouse,
Yes.
Mr. Ard,
Yes.
Mr. Harris. Mr. Wascom,
Yes.
Mr. Mack,
Would you like to ask a question?
Yeah.
I didn't know
Defer
what
to when? I thought we were sending it back to
next-
planning.
Well, that's what I'm
The
saying.
motion is not to defer, the motion is to send it back to
Send it to
planning.
planning. Yeah.
So it's deferring from us.
Sending it to planning. That's what the motion was, to send it to planning.
Okay, I'm gonna vote yeah.
what do you say?
He said, yeah.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Talbert.
Yes. All right, so back to planning with that.
We got two
All right.
more people to talk.
Wait. Yes, come, yeah, no, come on, you come on up. I told you you could talk. Yes, come on up.
Just for clarification's sake on this, and I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. He did say motion to defer. So should we clarify that, Chris? But I will change my vote or open discussion again to say motion to defer and send back to planning. I hate to be clear, but I'm going to be clarified.
The motion was pretty clear, that's why you wanted to do.
I mean, if the legal advisor says that's good, then I'm good with that. So,
I'm just saying how it should be categorized as a motion to refer. The intent was clear.
okay, I'm good. Go ahead, sir.
Bradley Wheat, 17295 Jack Allen Road. We are currently still under moratorium, correct?
Yes.
And that ends when?
27.
27. So, under moratorium, you cannot have any submittals done, correct? So, introduced. All right. So, technically, their first chance to put it on an agenda would be August, and it'd be heard in September.
Oh, it'd be heard in August.
Why?
Oh,
We're gonna put it,
It's already been submitted.
yeah.
on the 15th of June?
It was a, see,
But it wasn't,
it was a revision.
it was a
You
denial.
just said, Mr. Moody,
at the
to
meeting last
clarify for
night.
me what you just said.
Was it not
It was-
4-4 vote?
No.
It was,
At the meeting
it was
before that,
submitted
Jeff.
6/16.
At the meeting before that.
The application
it
or
was
the
denied.
submittal
No,
was
it wasn't.
6/16.
The meeting before that was a deferral.
Deferral. But in the deferral, you had to come back and write a letter to get it put up back on the agenda, correct? I'm just trying to clarify.
Why do you gotta write a letter?
I thought that
It's by
anybody
the
on the
ordinance,
commission
by
could put it
ordinances.
back on.
What's that ordinance number? It's an ordinance violation. I mean, I'm trying to state facts.
Jeff,
What ordinance?
Whoa,
What ordinance?
whoa, wait,
Oh,
wait,
who want
wait,
that?
wait.
Who want
It's
that?
too many people talking at one time. Mr. King.
So Chris, it was my understanding that any commissioner could put anything on the agenda, even if they bring it back, just to put it on there. Is that not correct?
Well, yeah, ordinarily, yes.
Okay.
But if it was previously on the agenda and deferred or pulled, it can be brought back up. I just don't think that this moratorium, we look at that really hard with the engineers and the
Yeah.
administration. Applying this moratorium to this particular development
Because it came in early.
because it was so far into the process.
Okay.
And just as a submittal? As an application?
The whole development has been on the books in the process for.
And deferred
since-
and deferred twice
Yes.
for sign issues. So I'm,
They were already in process, so if putting a moratorium in place typically can't affect anything that's already in process.
sure can. Were the construction permits pulled or anything?
That's in our new rules.
This moratorium is whether or not you can make a submittal.
And that clearly states no. It clearly states no, though, right?
Whether or not to call this a new submittal or continuation.
So that's your opinion, correct?
It could go either way. The administration made a decision that should be considered part of development already in process.
You get the final say.
Thank you.
All right. Everybody's talked. We've already done.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Let him clarify what I was talking about, Gary. He's got the ordinance that you was looking for. I don't know the number off the top of my head.
Okay.
That's
12513.
12513. That's what we went off from last night,
Okay.
right?
We already voted. I gotta go pee.
Yeah.
No, we-
Clarification, please.
Chris, should we move on? I mean, we've already voted.
That's it, your call.
All right, whoa, listen. This is the last person to talk right here.
And I just want to clarify, my name is Richard Farmer. I'm legal counsel to many of the residents here of the Village of Friends Settlement and surrounding area. What Mr. McMorris was referring to is that everybody keeps alluding to the term deferral. What happened is in the June meeting is that there were many discrepancies, many defects, many problems that the citizens brought up as far as concerns that they had to the Planning Commission. And that was in the June 1st meeting. As a result of that is that Belair elected to not put their matter to vote at that particular meeting. Whether you call it by a matter of semantics, a deferral, whether you call it postponement, what have you. What Mr. McMorris is referring to is what I brought before the Planning Commission last night is under the Livingston Parish ordinances, which is section 125.13D1. It states that a deferral cannot just be brought up. A deferral by an ODS, by an owner, developer, subdivider, has to be made in writing. It's in the black letter law in that ordinance. It's unequivocal as far as that it's mandatory language. It's not discretionary. You can't just say, okay, it's going to be a deferral. The owner, developer, subdivider has to make a request for a deferral in writing. Therefore, they made an application initially, as Mr. Mooney correctly referred to earlier, in April.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They understood the problems that were presented at that planning commission. And by doing so, they went back, made some corrections to what was addressed at that meeting by the concerned citizens. On June the 16th, they filed a new application. There's a new F-20 that was filed on June 16th by Belair Subdivision. That is a new application. That is what should be going forward as we speak tonight. Because as far as the old application, there was not a proper legal deferral that was made on that application. They elected to make the corrections that were addressed, came back, filed a new application in June, and that's what is pending now. 125-13D1. The language of that ordinance clearly states that a deferral must be made in writing.
You really want to push that? I want to ask the question. I asked you that.
Hey, hold on. Let this man finish speaking right here.
I'm sorry, Talbot.
Okay, so I think that there is a point of clarification. They did vote. I was at that meeting and I just asked to verify. They did vote on the deferral at the meeting in June.
It was improper.
I understand. So here's the deal. As it stands right now, state law says if I request a deferral, then the time starts. Not according to state law. Parish law says that it has to be in writing. So the question was, they asked for a deferral. And we're saying that because it was voted on, there's a 30-day clock that starts on that deferral. What you're trying to say now is that that deferral was improper for them to ask for it. So if the Planning Commission voted on a deferral without the request of the developer, then the 30-day clock never started. And this thing should have been approved July 3rd. Wait a second. Think about what you're saying. You're saying that the deferral was improper. And if the deferral was improper, there was never a stoppage of the clock. And the Planning Commission did vote in the June meeting for a deferral. So the deferral was granted without the request of the developer because you say it was improper, which means the clock never stopped on the time, and the 60 days has already expired.
As of when, Mr. Talbot?
It would have been on the May 3rd, if we go back to when the May 3rd hearing was initially done, 60 days would be July 2nd. The original submittal was made in April 18th. And if the clock never stopped, then the 60 days would have been May 17th, I believe. No, June 17th. So before I push the issue about an improper request, I would look at the consequences of what a non-stoppage of time was, and I would probably leave that issue alone and say that the request by the developer for a deferral and a granted deferral by the Planning Commission meet state law and stop the clock. But if you continue to push the issue that the parish council requires it in writing, then that vote in June did not stop the clock because the request for deferral by the developer was not a legal request because it was not in writing.
But let me ask you this.
Can I have 3 minutes?
No.
I mean, I thought we was going to end this discussion.
We are, but I mean,
No, we ain't.
he just pushed the issue.
He asked Gary. He asked Gary to clarify. So, you got the floor. You're the only one that has the floor.
Yes. I was just asking.
And the only reason I allowed Gary to speak is because you asked Gary to
I appreciate
clarify.
that. And Mr. Talbot, I think as far as the timeline goes, is that their application was heard on June 1st, correct?
The initial application was heard on May 3rd.
And then on June 1st, they asked for the referral. Now, the original application was on April the 18th.
Right, that's when the original submittal was April 18th. It was heard initially May 3rd. It was deferred based on the height of the sign.
And then
I'm gonna talk about that issue real quick. If you go to our ordinance and it talks about sign, the only punishment is a missing sign. There is no punishment for the height of the sign if you read the ordinance. However, planning deferred it because the sign wasn't tall enough. However, our ordinance doesn't there is no punishment for the sign being the wrong height. It then went to a July 1st meeting. And I testified at that June 1st hearing. And I said, if I was a resident of French Settlement, and I felt that I had a true title issue, I would ask for an approval. Because once it was approved, then any change would be significant and it would have to go back through the process. However, nobody trusted what I said, and it was deferred at the request of the developer. However, the developer did not put in writing the request, which state law doesn't require, but the parish does. So it was voted upon. So if the developer didn't put it in writing, did the clock stop on the 60 days? So, I mean, we're saying that the clock stopped because the developer asked. So I wouldn't push the issue that the developer didn't ask, because then the clock would continue to run and the 60 days would already be over with.
I understand. In all due respect, Mr. Talbot, is that the reason was not the height of the sign, is that the requirements of the sign mandated that they had a working telephone number on the sign, which nobody could reach. Therefore, it was not a proper
There is
submittal.
I'm gonna just tell you, if you read the ordinance, the only punishment.
I didn't interrupt you.
I'm not disputing anything you said. I'm just telling you, if you read the ordinance, the only punishment is for a missing sign.
That's it. We're done.
Move on
We're
to
done.
next item.
We're moving on.
Next item.
Next item. No, he talked to Mr. Talbot. He talked to him. All right, 14A. Planning, Livingston Parish Planning Department. Mr. Sam?
So what did we decide to do?
We've already did it.
We already voted. Yeah. Mr. Sam, go ahead.
Okay. 14A, this is Nickens Lake, second filing. One is to accept the roads and improvements into the parish maintenance by our recommendation and inspection. And the next one is
Need to quiet down in here.
Mr. Sam, I'm sorry, could you start over so I could hear that? Which one you
Livingston
on?
Parish Planning Department, Nickens Lake, second filing. The first on the request is to accept the roads and improvements into the parish maintenance system and release the $208,875.63 bond. Now, you might want to do that, Miss Sandy, in two different motions.
We can do it in one.
Do it in one.
Nobody objects.
Motion to accept.
That's in Bubba's district,
Yeah.
Mr. Bubba Harris'
Right.
district.
Are we good with that? Yeah, motion second.
All right, so we got a motion from Mr. Gerlinghouse, and second from Mr. Harris. Is there any comments on this? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Mr. Talbot was not present for that.
Y'all getting old, Jeff.
I know. All right, now we're gonna go and do the adoption of all the ordinances that we
Thank you, Ms. Sam.
had at the beginning of the meeting. So 15, adoption of LP Ordinance 22-09. You need to read these by title? We've already read them, so yeah, so we can just, I'm gonna need I'll say it, and I'm gonna need a motion and a second when I.
Just look here.
So this is ordinance 22-09. This was section 125.9 submittals. Addressing waiver requests to re-subdivide in subdivisions.
Motion.
With and without improvements. So I got a motion from Mr. Gardenhouse, second from Mr. Delat. Any comment? Well, no, we've already had that. So all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. 16, adoption of ordinance 22-29. This is an ordinance setting millage rates as adjusted for tax year.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Garlinghouse, second by Mr. Mack. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let it be noted that Mr. Talbert's still not here. 17, adoption of LP Ordinance 22-30, amend Section 2-06, Finance Committee to do the quarterly meetings instead of monthly.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. King. Second. Second by Mr. McMorris.
Real quick, this is just, I think, to allow to right now we require ordinance committees twice a month, and so this will go to once a month.
Well, it's
Once
finance
quarterly.
committee.
I mean, finance committee.
Yeah, just once a month.
Go to where
This will be
Second
quarterly.
meeting each month.
okay, it just eliminates having to do it as often because there's not
It's
a
quarterly.
Going to
It's
quarter.
going to
Quarterly.
quarter.
No, he said we're having it twice a month. Yeah, and it's just gonna make it to where Miss Jennifer's gonna email us all the check registers and all that stuff, and if she thinks we need one,
Right.
she'll let us know and we'll have one.
And I say that because I think it's good when we adopt these ordinances that we give a quick overview of what this ordinance is, if you don't mind. So if
Well,
anybody,
we did that at the beginning.
no, we didn't. We just read the title. We didn't give a quick description.
We did it at the last meeting. You here?
Yeah.
No, I was not here at the last meeting, but I watched it and didn't do it then either.
When Shane was chairman, we did, huh?
All right. Adoption of LP Ordinance 22-31. This is to amend Chapter 117 zoning.
Vote on it.
Oh, we didn't. No, okay, let's go back to 17. So,
I'll make a motion.
we had the motion in a second, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Scooter and.
yeah.
Yeah, Scooter made the motion, McMorris second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, Mr. Talbot was back to
See
that.
this.
All right, 18, adoption of ordinance 22-31. This is amend chapter 117 zoning. This, zoning districts, divisions 3, residential rural, single family.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Gardenhouse, second by Mr. Mack. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 19, adoption of LP Ordinance 22-32, creation of divisions 3.1, residential rural, single family.
Make that motion. I appreciate
All that-
everybody that
Motion
helped me
by
with that.
Mr. Mack, second by Mr. Keane. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, adoption of Ordinance 22-33, creation of Chapter 126, commercial development.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Talbot. Well, wait, this is the two we need to defer.
Well, we gotta defer them.
We got some amendments.
Morgan, our review engineer sent some amendments.
Okay, so I understand.
Let's pass it and amend
But
it.
let's pass it and amend it at the next meeting because,
Look, they're right there.
okay, because here's what's gonna happen. If we
Don't pass
don't
this.
pass them, then there will be no way to address commercial or
another month.
multifamily
When the
if we
moratorium
pass
gets
125.
Yep.
Yep.
So let's either amend them now and adopt it as amended, or vote on it now and amend it later.
Let's vote on it and amend it later. We don't know nothing about the amendments yet.
Well, I mean, the amendments are a recommendation from the parish engineer, so we ought to just read them out and amend it,
We ought to vote it as amendment.
and vote on it as amended.
Okay. Well, let's read it.
All right, y'all ready? I'll read them. Oh, you want to read them? Go ahead. Oh, okay.
Here.
Amendments are as said, page 1, 126-1, definitions. Says review engineer means a licensed civil engineer firm appointed to review technical documents and advise the planning, and we have and zoning commission. Is that right?
Yeah, that was already in there. The amendments are all the ones that are commented on. She basically just applied this to the
A 126-2.
Yeah, so she took out preliminary site plan and,
Dash 4.
or site plan. Prior to filing of an application for consideration by the parish, the representative developer is required to have an informal discussion with the planning director, parish review engineer, and parish staff, and officials deemed appropriate in an effort to resolve technical matters regarding the proposed development. Prior to setting the public hearing for the proposed development of the commission, so again, it's their site plans, not preliminary site plans in commercial development. The next page, the following plans and impact studies must be submitted to the parish planning department and the review engineers all comments addressed.
One, instead of preliminary site plan, again, it's construction. Operations made by the ODS after approval of the site plan instead of preliminary plat. She added, in accordance with section 126, accordance with section 125
Not scratched out? Gotcha.
and then construction plans should be submitted to all applicable districts, fire, water, sewer, for review and approval.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we include the amendments into Livingston Parish Ordinance 2233, and then we can vote on it as amended.
Sandy, don't we have to, he got to make the motion to approve the amendments. We got to vote on that, then we can adopt it as amended, or was it a
Yes,
two-step
you
process?
vote to amend it, and then you vote to adopt
Randy's
as
motion
amended.
is to amend it, and I'm a second Randy's motion.
We got a motion to amend, second by Mr. Talbot. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Motion to accept as
Motion
amended.
to accept as amended, second by Mr. Delat. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right.
34 is the creation of multifamily development. She added condominium, means a building or group individually, and the structure, common areas, and facilities are owned by all owners on a proportional, undivided basis. It is a legal form of ownership of real estate. A condominium is a form of multifamily. Private part of and adjacent to other similarly owned separated from one another by a common party firewall having no doors, windows. The rear yard of the townhome is included. The townhome is a form of multifamily development asset business. She went down and again, there's no preliminary site plan. It's construction.
What's the density on that?
All review comments addressed, which is the new procedure. She scratched out once approved the construction plans. If 7-3, again, it's to be submitted, not received by, with all comments addressed. She took off preliminary site plan and its construction plan or site plan. She took out preliminary site plan again. She added construction plan should be submitted to all district, fire, water, sewer, drainage, et cetera, for review.
Can I ask you, Ms. White, can I ask you one question? If we had density in multifamily, where would that fall?
Ms. White, can you get a microphone on? Because I know people are having a hard time hearing you.
Sorry. Okay, density would be, we could add it to the definition. Multifamily development means any proposed development that has a proposed use of 2 or more living units and shall include duplexes, apartment houses, townhouses, and condominiums. And then we can put, with a density of 8 per
I would
unit.
like to propose a density of 8 units per acre. In definition, in talking to developers in the area with respect to multifamily and what basically falls out in those deals, that 8 units an acre is probably a pretty fair density requirement for multifamily.
So we're just gonna add with a density of 8 units per acre towards the end of that definition.
Because what's going to happen is if we approve this, we're going to have no density whatsoever. So let's put 8 in here for the starting point, and if we find it's too much, we can come back and fix it. But if we don't, then they can come up with a density of 12, and there's no guidelines set for it.
So that would be a maximum of 8, is what you're
A
saying?
maximum of 8 per acre.
I'll make a motion that we include the amendments Ms. White read into that ordinance,
Motion to amend.
including Gary's.
Yeah. So.
Got a motion to amend
Yeah.
as read.
With Gary's stuff.
You
I got the motion. Oh, yeah.
You made the motion,
Yeah.
Randy's got the second.
Fine.
All right, y'all got it, right, Sandy? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, I need a motion.
To adopt as amended.
Adopt as amended. All right, motion by Ms. Girlinghouse, second by Mr. Delat. All in favor? Any opposed? All right.
Yeah, let's see.
22. Adopt of LP 22-35, amend section 125-34B, prohibit and permitted uses of wetland regulations.
I'd like to make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Talbot,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Girlinghouse. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, 23, adoption of ordinance 22-36, rescind and reenact chapter 125 subdivision regulations in its entirety.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Girlinghouse.
Yeah.
Oh, we gotta amend it first?
All right. All right.
All right, if you look through the document, the blue writing is how y'all introduced it. The red writing is the amendments that came out of the ordinance committee with the positive recommendation. And the green writing are amendments made after ordinance committee meeting on July 12th from planning department and review engineer. So if you flip through, we added combination of lots. The definition is combining two or more adjacent lots or parcels of land into one larger parcel. We added the definition exchange survey is transferring or conveying property in exchange for the reciprocal transfer or conveyance of property between two adjacent property owners. We added the definition of a
Garden home?
preliminary plat, actually, too, is supposed to be green, is a conceptual plan of a proposed development and does not represent a fully engineered, dimensioned, or designed project. It must include current and future filings and/or development. The preliminary plat must be completed by an independent land surveyor licensed to practice in the state. We added vicinity map definition is a map showing sufficient features and landmark, officially named streets and street intersection, lots and blocks within a subdivision, adjoining subdivision, township, range, section lines, etc., that would sufficiently enable a person to identify the location of the survey map. Okay.
Hold up, Lauren, where you at?
That
Sorry
was-
to catch up with you.
That was the very last definition.
Okay.
I'm still on page, I don't know, the page number's not on this document.
The end.
Yay. Okay, keep flipping to 125-10. This came from planning, clearing, and grubbing. The drainage impact study shall be approved before any clearing of property. Removal of bushes, shrubs, and small trees under 8 inches shall be allowed. And we're gonna keep flipping. Flip, flip, flip. So we cleared up the signage language. The sign shall be black and white. It was just a run-on sentence. The sign must remain visible and upright until final approval. And so we changed. And Shane, did you want to offer the amendment about failure to keep the sign visible and upright as cause for project work to be stopped by the parish and review engineer until the sign is corrected?
Say that again?
The failure to keep the sign visible and upright is cause for project work to be stopped by the parish and review engineer until the sign is corrected.
Correct.
In there already, right?
Yeah, we were gonna take that out
Okay.
from the ordinance committee.
Then we
and then-
decided, then we realized if we took it out, there was no consequences, so we decided to put
Leave
it
it in,
back.
yeah.
For Mr. Sam, so I just wanted to clear that up, so in
Yeah,
case
thank
anybody was
you.
watching.
Good
Okay,
job.
next page, section 125-38, requirements for exchange surveys. Requirements set forth in section 125-37, 1 through 8. The planning director may send exchange surveys to the Planning and Zoning Commission and the parish council if needed. The parish planning director shall notify the council member in whose district the resub is located. Such minor subdivision shall be submitted as per section 125-36 and upon approval recorded as per this article. All fees shall be paid prior to release of approved documents, and proof of payment shall be received before final approval of the planning department. Section 125-39, requirements for combination of lots. They do both of these currently under minor subdivisions. We just added them. Requirements set forth in section 125-37, 1 through 8. The planning director may send combination of lots to the Planning and Zoning Commission and the parish council if needed. The parish planning director shall notify the council members in whose district the resub is located. Such minor subdivision shall be submitted as per section 125-36, and upon approval, recorded as per this article. All fees paid shall be paid prior to release of approved documents, and proof of payment shall be received before the final approval of the planning department. Okay? So we have submittals. This is where the process changes. Stage 2 of without improvements, we crossed out the preliminary plat is a conceptual plan of a proposed development and does not represent a fully engineered dimension or design project and must include current and future filings and or development. A vicinity map must be included on the preliminary plat. The preliminary plat must be completed by an independent land surveyor licensed to practice in the state. We added that section to definitions. Again, a signage clearing up the signage language. I had a word in there, copies of transmittal letters to utility companies and signed letters from the sewer district, added drainage district, fire district, school board should be attached to Form 20 when submitting. I crossed out same to planning commission, secretary, and review engineer. Okay, again, signage clarification, sections, new section numbers. Another amendment to the road width section. All roadway improvements should meet the parish standards outlined in section 125-17 and be approved by the review engineer and planning director. That came from them. On the driveway culverts, all culverts in the subdivision legally platted and accepted. It used to say parish council. It now says planning and zoning commission. And because we changed this in the other ordinance, wetlands is now going to say A, total acreage of proposed development shall not include wetlands classified as marsh, swamp, or fens according to the EPA. And because you guys just adopted that last ordinance, it's going to say B, wetlands classified as marsh, swamp, or fens defined by the EPA shall not be developed or mitigated.
Is that it?
Nope. We're taking out hardwired. Cleaning up the signs again. We changed all developers of mobile home or trailer parks. It now says all owners, developers, or surveyors. We added the road width requirements in mobile home parks, and that's it.
Mr. Chairman, I want to ask you a question.
Sure, go ahead, Rain.
Comment you on the job you done. That ordinance was so, you couldn't find nothing in it. I mean, you looked through 10 pages for a paragraph and it was in another section. The way that you have it laid out is a very good job. It's easier to read and you know where to go look for it. And I appreciate that. You did a great job.
Yeah, I agree.
I want to make a motion to accept the amendments as read.
All right, motion to accept amendments as read by Mr. Talbot, second by Mr. Mack. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I can make a motion to accept the
Adopt as
ordinance,
amended.
adopt the ordinance as amended.
Motion by Mr. Talbot, second by Mr. Harris. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right.
All right.
A lot of hard work right
Some
there.
good work, guys. Y'all did real good.
All right, item 24.
Look, for a point of clarification, this is the 14th. When that thing is signed, it will become law on the 29th. The Planning Commission will not meet until August. So the new procedures that have been set forth will be how stuff is done from now on. So there was method to the madness of sending it back to planning and getting this adopted so that the next time this thing is met, the next time planning meets, they'll be a what's it called, Lauren? The phase one deal. After that is accepted, based on the fact that it meets the ordinance as written, then the studies will go forth. And after the studies will be completed, it will then go back to planning at that point in time for approval with the information that the public will have about traffic, drainage, schools, fire, which is what we've said all along. And so they'll have all the information when it goes before planning the second time. And I think that situation solves this issue right here.
Mr. King?
With reference to the schools and the fire, we don't have any of that yet, but it's set forth in our law. Do we?
They don't have any teeth to it.
Until
It just
we get-
doesn't have a number, so there's no.
Until we get those in place, they just say those don't apply?
Go look and see what the fee is, and if there's no fee there, then there's
Yeah,
no fee.
So.
That's what I'm-
Okay, so basically, there's no alternative. There's no alternative on the fire yet.
Right.
So consequently, that part, until there's an alternative, that part doesn't apply. There is nothing from the school that's been the section's been created, but we don't have any
So
information.
we wouldn't have to put it later.
But
Right.
we're hopefully, the fire department, I think, is gonna be on the council, on
Next
the ordinance committee meeting next Tuesday to address, and then, of course, the ball's still in the school board court, but we're moving forward. We're moving forward in the way we need to move forward.
So the planning commission, planning and zoning will know that they can't impose a non-existent rule on somebody.
Yes.
The attorney will be there, and
Yeah, I think
you'll
we'll
know.
figure that out, or the
Okay.
staff will let them know.
Okay. I just want to make sure it was legal.
Yep, go ahead.
First of all, I want to compliment all of you, and Lauren and Sandy, because what you would have had to hire a consultant and probably paid them $500,000 to put this together, and probably wouldn't have done it as quickly, so.
Need to write a check.
Very impressive work. The other thing is, and I think you're right, any subdivision for sure will have to meet these ordinances that are on the next agenda for planning. I can't say 100%, though, that this last development would be required to meet all of these new ordinances. And we'll bring it up and talk to planning about it, where the decision ought to be made, I think. Because I'm not so sure you can and put a rule on them if time is already passed. For instance, the studies you might not have to, they can't meet that requirement. The impact studies can't be done because they've already had their submittals. So, but anything going forward, I think you could probably defend those ordinances applying to.
I think Gary was right. The impact studies is not on the first submittal. It's not, it's the.
Like, not on the first
It's
submittal.
not on the first.
It's required at the second
Okay,
submittal.
well,
So they've already done that first submittal, and it's all been deferred. So now it's gone back. They'll see that first submittal, then after that's accepted, then they move forward with the process.
I didn't follow the process of the.
Okay.
If you need to adopt that, that's a much better way of doing it.
Yeah.
They'll probably have to meet that now.
Oh, I
Lee
think
helped
so
us with
too.
that.
I think it's great.
What's next?
Good? That's it?
I'd like to discuss item 24.
That's where I'm at right
Oh,
now.
okay, good.
Item 24. Adopt a resolution to issue a letter of no objection. Randy, do you want to just take this on? This is you for LA Trace?
Help me on it, Lauren.
This is to adopt a resolution to issue a letter of no objection to Candace Venable addressed at 19622 LA Trace Road, French Settlement, Louisiana 70733, as mandated by the Office of State Lands for application of a water bottom lease located in Council District 8.
I'm curious, a water bottom lease, I know oyster beds are water bottom, but what are they doing?
They're putting a boat slip
boat slip.
and
They got it, we got to do it
repairing-
on all boat slips now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Mr. Delat.
Second.
By Mr. Mack. So, let's see, wait a minute.
Right in the letter.
Scott Lobel. Amy Week. Trey? I think I saw Trey leave. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 25. Brandy, this is you too, if you want to take it. This is the one with Jim Ryan.
Okay, this agenda item, guys, I want to figure out, and y'all got a printout, I think they passed around, Lauren or Sandy, someone. I want to ask for another resolution, and this is I'm requesting a fact-finding resolution. Before we spend any more of the taxpayers' money, I propose we accumulate all the facts and data available to the parish government through our road capital outlay program engineers, the bonding attorney, and past president's administrative staff as President Ricks deems necessary. With the understanding this data will form a rough estimate and would have to be fine-tuned before any legislative act can be taken by using the results of this information. The generic data being requested is available from past and current records in the possession of parish government and parish contractors. The due date for this requested information by the council will be September the 14th council meeting. Unless President Rick notifies the council before the due date, more time is needed. The information requested is going to be as follows. How many road miles are in each district? How many road miles are estimated to be overlaid next year with this year's sales tax projections? How many miles this year? And number 4 was the cost to overlay a mile of road this year versus the cost 2 years ago. Using past years, the next one was using past year's sales collection and this year's contract per mile average. When will all the roads get done, or how many miles of roads will get done at the end of the sales tax? Using this year's bonding estimates, how many miles of roads were overlaid and at what cost? A breakdown of the formula used to project this number would be required. How many miles of roads are substandard or will be in 8 years? Regardless of the sales tax projection, what is the cost to do all the roads at the end of 15 years? Number 9, what is the cost to do current emergency substandard roads by bonding for 8 years? Number 10, what is the estimated maintenance cost per year of substandard hazardous roads? At this time, my wish is to see valid proof with real accurate data that we are good stewards of the people's money. I also want to thank the council for considering this reasonable request of transparency and validation of facts and data. And basically, guys, if they give us enough, answer all those questions, it's going to be a no-brainer for what we want to do. We each can make up our mind when we have the information. Right now, we say, well, he said, she said. We can't do anything until we pay the bonds off. I understand that part. Then somebody says, well, you know, we're only collecting a certain amount of money and it took us so long to pay that back. I understand that part. What I don't understand is there's a bucket of money that's coming in every month, and that bucket of money gets allocated throughout the year. I'm wondering if that's the most feasible way to spend the money. And by asking those questions, we can make up our own mind as an individual if that's going to be the feasible way or not. And I think what we're going to come and find out is working the way we're working now, that we're not going to be able to overlay all the roads at the end of 15 years. The price of overlaid roads is going to get higher and higher and higher and higher. And bonding money is going to get higher and higher and higher. So we just got to have a plan and not just react. And I feel like by getting information together, we can make a plan. And we as a council is going to be, once we have the information, it's going to be our plan because we control the budget. And that has to be done by the budget. So I will ask support from the council to pass a resolution with these questions, getting it to the past president's administration and Jim Ron, and see if they can give some information back. Maybe we can work more quickly, maybe we can do better deals if we combine bigger pieces of the pie. Maybe if we wouldn't spend so much maintenance money on roads that doesn't do any good, maybe overlay that road with all the maintenance money you was gonna spend in the last 2 years on it. You know, it's gonna be a lot of options out there, and we're not gonna know until we have the answers to these questions that I just asked. I'll put that in form of a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Can I make a comment, Randy?
Yes.
I got no issue other than quit spending. We've already issued a contract. I mean, we've got a contract in place and we've got a road list for this year.
Has nothing to do with that.
So let's take that out the deal. I'll support it 100% because we should have this information before we approve another road list. So let's take that part out and I'm good.
The only reason I don't want to take it out, Gary, is it won't affect it, but I need the information for a formula down the road. You understand what I'm saying?
I got something to say.
I want to ask Gary first.
So what you mean? I'm confused.
Okay, you want to take out how many road miles?
No, I want to take out,
stop and spend.
I want to
spending
take
the money.
out, with this agenda item, I'm requesting a fast-finding resolution. Before we spend any more taxpayer money, I don't mind.
I understand. I understand. I
Just
got
take
you.
that part
I
out,
understand.
and I'm fine.
I understand you. I got you. I got you.
All right, Mr. Mack?
No, I was just trying to get the floor to address exactly what Gary was saying. I
Speak
don't
louder.
think it's a good idea to, stop spending existing money and stop the contracts that's going on now.
Yeah, I didn't intend that to happen, but when you
Yeah.
read it, it does say that.
Right.
Okay.
So he's gonna take that out.
Yep. You got something? That was it?
So, I guess my,
Oh, wait, that takes precedent, don't it?
Well, it does, but it's kind of uncalled for that when you got a councilman speaking and you
don't
just
have the
holler.
floor.
holler
You don't have the
questions.
I
floor.
said call a question a while ago, and you didn't let me talk. Somebody else hollered.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, you said
didn't
it
have the
after we
floor.
were voting.
it was called the question is, okay, motion to continue. Maybe actually
Okay.
didn't get a second, so.
Most-
No, I guess my problem is, one, to get Jim Ryan to do this, is it going to cost us anything for him to do the initial?
I'm not sure. That's why I sent the questions to administration. It seems like that's in-house stuff we have. We have overlaid roads in the past. We're continuing to overlay them. They had the sheet of how many roads each district's got. I don't know none of that information.
Okay,
And Jim's gonna need information, and he's gonna need that information from the parish government.
so I guess, I guess not a secret, I oppose you on, I oppose the
Right,
thought
right.
process.
Yeah.
And I want to say that I would really only be for bonding two things, and that would be a new road or the 25% for jail expansion. And that, because that's essentially goes to the jail, and we got to spend it there.
Right.
I don't see a world where I would be for bonding anything other than that, because we lived through 4 years before this of really just having minimal amounts of money to spend. I think the bond was a bad idea the first time it was done, and I'm fairly certain there was a lot more roads in the parish at that time that were worse than they are now. But I'm okay with letting it go forward, just to do your fact-finding mission, so I'm good.
And I appreciate it, Tracy, and one of the things I'm saying, y'all, I'm not saying I want to bond it and fix the roads if it's not cost effective.
Okay.
I want to do it if it's cost effective. I want to prove the numbers to me. I know, and that's why I asked the questions that it is, that we, 2 years ago, what a road cost versus what it costs us now, just 2 years. Now, I add another 13 years, think what it's going to cost.
Well, and look, to Randy's defense, I'll talk about 2 points he made that are legitimate. If there's a road that we're spending a ton of money on repairing, sometimes it might be more cost effective to fix it, but we don't have the money to fix it. So possibly bonding that particular road. And if there's 10 or 15 or 20 of them that make sense, that we're spending enough money to pay the note on a bond, then that's a consideration. The other thing that I'll go and address, I'll tell you what, at the Live Oak Ballpark, they passed a tax, and those guys saved money year after year after year after year to expand that ballpark. And the cost of expanding the ballpark went up and up and up and up, and they weren't making headway. Yet when you took the revenue that they had and then extrapolated that revenue over a 30-year period on a bond, you could do that. The only thing I'm gonna say different in that is that's a asset that once you built, you just had to maintain. And I believe that a road is something that starts wearing out the day you get it, and it's not a maintained thing all the time. Sometimes it's like it just gets eaten up, and so I have a hard time borrowing money on something that's not going to survive the length of the note. So those, I mean, you understand, but to his point, As costs go up, sometimes it's cheaper to pay for it now, buy it now and then extrapolate the cost over a long period, as long as you don't extrapolate it past the life of the thing you're paying for. And I think that's what happened. What we came in and faced is that roads that were bonded and school parking lots that were used with that money and all the other crap that was done with that money, because they had so much of it after they got through overlaying what they wanted to overlay, that they were still paying the note after the life of some of that stuff was gone. And I think that's the consideration you gotta look. You gotta figure out what's the projected life on the road and not bond it past the life of the road.
Well said.
Kind of like borrowing money on a wore out pickup truck.
And to speak to that, I think that the roads that the general road they overlaid at first was garbage.
Right.
As compared to the way they do it now. Another reason, the expense. I am very leery of bonding to the level that they bonded before.
Oh, absolutely.
I will never do that.
Right. So let's just, look, if we get this information, it might show that
Just look at it.
It may show that
it's
you're
not
100%
even
right,
possible, and it might show that there are isolated situations. You can put these 10 roads together and pay for them with what you would spend on maintenance over the next 10 or 15 years. It makes sense. So,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, we discussed that in our first term, that, maybe if we bonded out, we made a list that these 20 roads, this is how much it's gonna cost, and just bond out the money for those roads. We talked about it, and then we didn't have the information like Randy's needing to make educated decision on it. So it just kind of fell away. So I think that's a good idea.
So your motion is basically what you read, excluding
Taking that line out, take the line.
before we spend any more
Before we
taxpayers'
spend
money.
any more taxpayers' money.
All right. I had a motion from Mr. Delat. Mr. Talbot seconded. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Is anyone opposed? All right. 27. Adopt a resolution to grant a density waiver and to allow to subdivide in a named subdivision, Carter Circle. Mr. King?
Yes, sir. Mr. Thompson contacted me, and he'll explain what he's needing. I went and looked at it, and it's 2 half-acre lots, if I'm correct right now, thereabouts, 0.35, and there's 3 trailers already there, so there's a density of 3 now. His father is elderly, and, they want to get this subdivided for 3 siblings. Turn it into 3 lots instead of 2. After we would do that, it would still be a density of 3. It wouldn't change. There's 3 trailers on it now. The middle one's across the property line, so that ain't legal.
You made a motion?
Yeah.
I second it.
Okay, and Mr. Thompson's here to,
I'm ready to vote.
you want to vote? You
You got something to
Go ahead and
say?
tell
You
us a
come.
little bit, Mr. Thompson.
sometimes he can say something might mess it up.
Yeah, you might.
He's at the podium. I'm letting him make the call.
Family property, we're just trying to subdivide between the family. It's all family property, that's all it is, that's all we're doing with it.
There's 3 structures on it already. There's gonna still be 3 structures when they're done.
Yeah.
All right. Miss Sandy, call for the vote.
Mr. Delat.
Yes.
Mr. McMorris.
Yes.
Mr. Girlinghouse.
Yes.
Mr. Ard.
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Wascom.
Yes.
Mr. Mack.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Mr. Talbot.
Yes.
You good to go, brother?
All right, 28.
Never thought I'd do that.
You did all right, Gary. You did all right.
Adopt a resolution to grant a waiver request. Randy, this is yours on King George. Is that still up?
Yeah, this is Happy Acres Lane. I had someone approach me. He wants to put his mother-in-law on a lot. And y'all got the maps in front of y'all?
I think we do. What number?
28.
28. Yeah, I got
I'm
it.
the mother-in-law.
So, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman.
There's,
State your name and address, please.
I'm sorry, Jennifer Daniel.
Name and address, please.
Jennifer Daniel, 16339 Wesley Evans Road, Extension, Prairieville. Does anybody want to see a copy of what we're looking to do?
We got it.
We got it.
Okay.
Yep.
All we're wanting to do is just subdivide this 51 acres to where that I can be on the property with my son-in-law and daughter.
It'd be 1 lot added.
What's the size of the smallest lot? I mean,
8 acre.
8.6, 8.6.
8.6, so yeah, like.
Yeah.
Motion to
Ready to
approve.
vote.
All right, so we got a motion by Mr. Girlinghouse, second by Mr. Talbot. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against?
Thank y'all so much.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, 29,
Won't be seen.
rescind 22-180, adopted on May 26, 2022, and adopt a resolution that specifies each lot being approved to grant a waiver to subdivide in a named subdivision. Section 125-98, submittals for CKW Construction located in Carter Reserve subdivision. Randy? That's you. Carter Reserve.
Hey, I thought we already voted on this.
Well, but we voted before the thing changed, so now we're just fixing it so
Gotta
it never
redo it
has to be
again?
voted on again.
Okay, I'll make a
Randy makes a
motion.
motion, I'll second it.
All right, motion by Mr. Latt, second by Mr. Talbot.
Can we ask
Any-
a question?
yes.
Is it okay if we rescind it first and then vote on it? Just to
That's
keep
the
it
first
clean?
motion is to rescind.
I second that.
Yeah. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Now, motion to accept.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Latt, second by Mr. Talbot. Right. You did, we good?
The maps that we're doing to make sure that it states 2 lots, that's what happened the first time. Nobody said the name of the lots. It was 2 maps in here, 2 different ones. So it was just a generic, resolution that was done.
But it's done right now, Sandy? Is
So
it
it's-
correct now?
Track CP8 is going into track CP81 and lot 280B.
She said.
Yeah.
That's the motion Randy wants to make.
And I will second it.
Make the motion, Randy. So
Okay.
be it.
Yeah.
He did, he made the motion.
They're done, call.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. 30, adopt a resolution to approve naming an unnamed road Kuiper Lane located off of, help me, Shane, O'Dillion Road in Council District 9. Mr.
Yeah,
Mack.
so this is just a formality, if you ask me. They just naming a private road for addresses purposes. Yeah, they've turned in all the paperwork. Permit office, from what I understand, approved the name, documented all their
911 name
stuff.
addresses.
Yeah, so it's.
I'll second
it. Everything they
Made a
need.
motion.
Motion
Yeah,
by
making a
Mr.
motion.
Mack, second by Mr. Latt. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, 31, adopt a resolution to add the following roads for consideration to the capital outlay. Meadowbrook Boulevard, Mr. Wascom?
Yes, I got a couple phone calls from the mayor. To ask y'all support to add Meadowbrook to the capital outlay overlay program.
All right, while we on it, has anybody else got any roads they need to add? All right, that's a motion, Mr. Wasson?
Yes, that's a motion.
Motion, second by Mr. Mack. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, committee reports. Ordinance Committee.
We didn't have anything new come out of committee. We did
We just
discuss.
handled it.
Yeah.
We just did it all.
Right.
Well, we did discuss the fill ordinance, and we decided to go back and just discuss how we wanted to do it. It's not something you can just, it's going to be easily done. I suggest you guys who aren't on the ordinance committee, who haven't come, better start coming, because this is not going to be
Needs to be a group effort, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, or we can all be in the boat together.
I'm not opposed if the chairman wants to call another special meeting at another time to do that like we did the last time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I think we would definitely need at least one more ordinance meeting.
At
We can
least.
get at least one,
Yeah.
possibly 2 before we get to that.
But I do
But
commend,
yes,
I do commend
that will probably.
Councilman McMorris for taking this on.
I'll try it.
Yep.
So maybe he
So-
can be successful.
We'll see how we can get out of it. So,
Because somebody got in the way.
Finance Committee.
Oh, they are.
Needed meat.
Scooter, when it's your turn to talk, you don't even
no
talk.
report, sir. I'm kind of being like Mr. Moody. Next meeting.
Hey, the only difference is you didn't get a big check to say that.
I didn't get any check to say that.
All right, District Attorney's report. No report.
Motion to
All right,
adjourn.
I got a motion from Mr. Girlinghouse to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Mr. Harris. All in favor?
It's not 9 o'clock yet.
Meeting adjourned.
I gotta get in.
You're right, but it's still late. You know what I mean?
Bubba said he didn't go to bed at 6 o'clock every night. What y'all talking about?